Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex and landed at episode number 30, Adversary Archive, The Master, where I've been watching too much Torchwood and just got back from Captain America to think of a good opening. I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Glenn.
By the way, Captain America, fantastic.
Yeah, two of the three of us have seen it. I'm not the one that's seen it.
I liked it.
It really helps build on the whole Marvel universe that they've started. So,
Oh, good. I'm excited. I'll see it next weekend.
And I'll have a review up online maybe tomorrow.
Yay!
depending on how busy his work is.
Depending on how busy I am at work.
Depending on whether he gets a bathroom break or not.
Yeah.
Well, let's start out this show with news, guys. There's big
Lots
news
of
going on
news.
this weekend, and you guys are actually filling me in because I've had some intermittent internet problems this weekend at my house. So I have been quite unconnected from the world, which is odd because I'm always on the internet, always getting news that way. We don't have cable TV anymore. We don't have
The term off the grid does not apply to you.
No, it usually doesn't. And I
Ever.
was way off the grid this weekend. Every once in a while I'd get the internet working, but I have been so behind. So you guys will be filling us in on news this week. So
Well, the first bits. Sean, you want to handle the first bit?
would be pleased to handle the first bit, which is that in a new interview, Christopher Eccleston has come out and stated his reasoning for not continuing on Doctor Who, which we'd kind of touched on a little bit previously. And apparently, they never came out and identified anybody by name, but Eccleston said that he was very unhappy with the higher-ups that ran Doctor Who and the way the show was put together, from the standpoint that apparently it was commonplace for directors to bully around sound guys, lighting guys, prop guys, and then turn to Eccleston and say, can you do this way? And he lost a lot of respect for them and for the people higher up who were allowing it to happen. And that's why he walked.
And he did express that he did enjoy playing the character and that he wished he could have continued on. But morally, he just couldn't.
Yeah, he just didn't feel right.
and then finally he said, even though he enjoyed his time, he's still not coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, just despite the... he did say that the Empty Child and the Doctor Dances, written by one Stephen Moffat, are his favorite episodes of season 1. But even apparently with the allure of Stephen Moffat now running it,
I don't see
that
why
he wouldn't come back.
It's a different people running the show now. Why wouldn't he come back? It's not the same people in charge.
Yeah, there's a lot of time. I go back to there's a lot of time between now and the 50th anniversary, and I think that's the sticking point with a lot of fans. He doesn't have to come back in the next 2 years. Nobody cares if he comes back in that interim. If he comes back for the 50th special, that's when it's necessary.
Which, and David Tennant said he'd love to come back for the 50th special.
He has said that he would come back at any time.
Yeah, but he more recently said,
Right.
"Yeah, I'm up for it any time." And same thing with John Barrowman, saying he's up to come back to Doctor Who at any time, especially the 50th anniversary.
Yeah. So I think we've at least got commitments from them. I bet Paul McGann would do it if they ask him. Sans the wig. From all the interviews you ever hear, he hated that wig.
Oh, I don't. When Paul McGann shows up on stage at a convention wearing the new Eighth Doctor's outfit, yeah, the dude will come back.
Something's coming, yes, yeah. Definitely.
At least I hope so.
Well, the other piece of news recently was that Karen Gillan has announced that
She told ZapToIt.com that she will be back for season 7.
Yay!
Which hopefully...
That seemed very lackluster. I'm curious to know.
I kind of expected her to leave after the series.
I did too.
So, while I'm glad, I'm kind of like, well, now how are they going to work
I think
that?
we had already gotten used to the idea of Amy not being there. So, yay, she's coming back, but it wasn't like I was heartbroken. I'd already gone through that. It'd been nice for her to stick around. She's gone.
But we still got her for 2 seasons.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
great.
We'll enjoy her for now. So, And not to mention...
I hope they get Arthur Darvill back.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it's just Amy and not Rory, then...
See, and I almost have issue with it, too. If she comes back for next season, why aren't they off raising Melody?
They're going to have to baby-proof the TARDIS.
See, I don't think having a baby on the TARDIS as they go on all these adventures is
The doctor's going to
I just have a problem
Oh
with
my
it.
God, she's crawling toward the power couplings. Don't stick a fork in that.
I don't know. Yeah, I would be interested. It's really too early to speculate because we've got even half of the season left to go.
That's true.
That we don't know what's going to happen in that.
So yeah,
there's actually I don't know if you guys have been on much today. There's apparently a very lively Twitter debate going on.
Today being Sunday.
The day that we record this. About the announcement that she's coming back, and a lot of fans are kind of lackluster on it. That's not saying that we don't love Amy as a companion, because we do. There has been...
It's just that Rory has outshined her so far this season.
Well, that for me, that's my reasoning.
At least for me.
I have enjoyed Rory a lot more this season than I have Amy. It was the exact opposite the year before.
Yeah.
Now, granted, Rory wasn't in it as much,
That's
so
true.
he didn't grow on you like Amy did, but... I'm the same way. I'm really enjoying Rory a lot more this season than I am Amy.
I feel like I've had I had a very strong reaction to Amy initially. I loved Amy. I was like, what a great companion. She's strong. She's this, she's that, blah, blah, blah. And I've had a very sharp fall off with her character. And I don't know if it's because Rory has surpassed her as a companion in my eyes.
Maybe
or
it's
as a
just
character.
because she's been, spoilers if you haven't watched it, kidnapped all season.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that it's not truly Amy, but I mean,
But she has the memories still.
It seems almost like, and this is the debate that's going on right now, is that she's there for the sex appeal. She's there to bring something for the dads to watch, but doesn't really bring much to the plate other than that. And there's a certain amount of that I kind of have to agree with.
And that's not our opinions. But
No,
that's the
this
opinion
is
that's out there,
this is what's going on. But there is a certain slice of that I can definitely agree with. I think if you look at the past companions that we've talked about that we've really liked, where you look at Ace, well, today will be our first Ace, but Sarah Jane, obviously, and so, that all of these other characters that have brought things to the table, Amy's not quite in the same class as Martha or Rose or anything like that. And it's not necessarily anything against what's her name, Karen Gillian, but
That's how they're written.
it's just how they've written her. And so the fact that she is coming back is like, well, as long as Rory's coming back, I'm totally okay with it. So
yeah.
Well, and I don't see how they could come up with a feasible way for Rory to not be there with Amy.
oh, I could.
Unless I said an unfeasible way.
It would be pretty unfeasible, but it could happen.
If they kill him, that makes sense.
Yeah, no,
which
well,
they're prone to do at this point.
I think they're prone to do that as well, and I think that fixes a lot of things too. We're getting into this a little heavier than I expected, but this fixes a lot of things too. Is Rivers' lack of recognition of Rory throughout most of this series, or as much association. She seems to have a connection with Amy from the beginning.
Yeah, she does.
She doesn't ever seem to have that connection with Rory, with the exception of that little time there in the prison when he goes to get her, and they're getting ready to set up for... Yeah, exactly. But she doesn't have really a connection. But it makes sense that if you get rid of Rory in her early life, she doesn't grow up with a father. She doesn't grow up with that connection, so it would make sense not to have that connection. So it really... It handily tidies up some things that I've had a problem with this last two seasons, now that we've revealed that River is actually Amy and Rory's daughter. So,
Boy, I hope not. So there's that, and
The other big news is...
speaking to the second half of the season,
we have a return date.
We do.
August 27th.
on BBC America, and I believe...
The one bit of news I did catch this weekend, by the way.
Still day and date with England, if I'm not mistaken.
I understand.
Only a month and 2 days away.
Here's the thing.
As of recording.
Recording
it was it was confirmed by BBC America that it would return on BBC America on the 27th. Now, did that article also go in to say that would be the same time? Because that's what happened last time. That America got its date long prior to the BBC getting their date. BBC America got their date.
We didn't know for sure that it was going to be.
And we didn't
Dan
even
Day.
know it was going to, because BBC BBC One over in the UK never came out and said, this is definitely the date for many weeks later. And now everybody assumed that was going to be the same because they'd always talked about day and date.
Which
I
ended up being the case
Yes,
until
it did.
the holiday that pushed it back.
Now, another thing I actually saw before BBC America's blog confirmed it, I actually saw some speculation earlier on yesterday about one of the DVD websites that posts
I
DVDs
saw that
too,
too.
said that it was coming out on the second half, or second half was
release
coming out on
dates.
like October 3rd or
October
October
2nd, I think it was.
Meaning, and they said that means that the series could come back no earlier or no later than
First week of September was the
yes,
date they had
exactly. First week of September, and they speculated that even August was more likely. End of August was more likely, and that being because you have to have so many of those air before that DVD comes out, and that happened to be the math of 6 weeks before that DVD came out.
Which
so.
we don't have a release date or a target date for the complete series.
No, I haven't seen anything on that yet.
Okay.
And I think that'll be shortly after, and I think October will be the release for the second half, and then I see them setting up a November date so that they can catch that Christmas crowd.
I will say this is a little off topic, but you and I have both been of the mindset, Glenn and I, that there will be a complete box set. Period. There will be a complete box set.
They've
I
announced
still have not deviated.
Have they announced it?
Yeah, they announced that.
Oh, okay. Well, then this
TV
doesn't make
shows
any
on
sense.
DVD.com have the details that officially say, okay, it's being released in 2 parts and then a complete series at the end.
And the complete series will have Christmas in it?
It has not announced that.
It
The
just...
series
will-
will have Christmas.
I
sure,
will
yeah.
laugh so hard when I am vindicated for
I
buying
actually,
Christmas
you're gonna-
cards.
Don't worry, you won't be vindicated.
You're going to laugh. I thought this today. I thought to myself, wait a minute. Venture Brothers came at season 4 and 4.2 or 4.5, whatever it is. They broke that one into 2 parts, and that was one that was split up on television.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Battlestar Galactica season 2 and 4, they broke up into 2 box sets.
They did.
And I started thinking of all of these box sets that were broke up, and I was like, wow, maybe Keith's onto something. But so they've already announced it. So you're wrong.
They've
But
announced.
they've also gone
announced
back.
the complete series.
They've also gone back. Whoa! They've also gone back and released Battlestar Season 2 on an entire
Oh, have they?
one set box. Yeah,
Was that for the Blu-ray?
Just season 2?
might have been.
Or...
Well,
4
'Cause
was that
I know
way,
was
too.
it 4 that was also broke
Yeah,
up? See,
2
I
and 4.
can't
2 and
confirm.
4.
I can't confirm 4, but I know I've seen Season 2 all as one set, and I'm pretty sure it was a DVD set as well.
Really?
So,
Okay.
yeah.
I've only seen 2.0 and 2.5.
Yeah. So no, I'm pretty sure that I've seen it that way. Now 4 I can't confirm, but I know I've seen Season 2 because I went back and thought about picking up Battlestar on DVD because I haven't done that yet.
I may
myself,
sell you
so.
mine because I haven't decided for sure whether or not I'm going to keep them.
Really?
It's yet another one of those shows. You know me, I'm a completist, man. I got to own all of it. And the more I think about it, the more I think how really unsatisfied season 3 and 4 were for me. That
Well, season
Maybe I won't keep
3
them.
was,
Season 3 was a
4,
downer.
I
Before
think, picked it back up.
the last half of season 4.
Well,
picked
that's
it
just
back
it.
up.
I thought it did an upward. We're going way off tangent again. It did a real upward swing. I think season 4 started badly, but just
Did
really
Starbuck on
it
the
just
garbage scow
it
and
just
all that, it's
completely
like, eh.
sloped up. I mean,
Speaking
it just
of,
kept going up.
there's a video, or quasi-related to things that you guys were slightly disappointed with. Remind me after the episode, after we're done recording, to show you this clip that Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse showed at the Comic-Con panel of a Lost retrospective.
Okay, now that we've mentioned that in show, I have to put a link in the show notes to that so that people will go.
Go
Wait,
Comic-Con.
they talked about something they were going to do after the show, and
Oh, it's just a personal note because I forgot to show you before.
okay, all right.
After the show, we're going to go get some gold medal ribbon ice cream. If you want to meet us, put that link in there. 31 flavors this way.
Let's talk a little bit about the trailer that accompanied
The big
announcement.
trailer.
Oh,
That's
was that
big
the
stuff.
big news?
That was the big news. That was actually bigger than it coming back from the 27th.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, it
Really, the
really
big
was.
news was watching this trailer and seeing
And apparently
all of the
they
amazing
also got a
things.
sizzle reel, a clip reel from the God Complex. The second episode when it returns.
Don't want to
The
know.
Comic-Con panel got that.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I haven't watched it. I don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
Oh, is it online?
It's online.
Well, I'll be watching it.
head over to IO9, and they have a
Well, I won't watch it until my internet gets back.
You don't have internet. You won't be watching it at all.
I got to call the internet guy or the internet guy.
He'll watch it
call
tomorrow
the
at
cable
work.
company tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well,
And I'll hear it.
If,
Wait till the 5 o'clock is on.
that's right.
And
I'll
then
do
I
that,
won't
or I'll
hear
wait till you. Well, you aren't smoking anymore. So, which, by the way, Keith
Oh, yeah,
has
that's
quit
big news.
smoking.
Keith-
That's
Keith.
huge news.
Keith
I
has
think
quit
the trailer's
smoking.
bigger.
No,
Because I
you
haven't
quitting.
truly quit.
Well,
I am...
stepping down.
I'm stepping down.
But you're doing a really good job. I've been
I-
watching you at work. There's just been a couple of trips outside.
Just a couple. I haven't
We're pulling
even,
for
I,
you.
I've been only bumming my smokes at work, too.
Send your encouraging remarks to Keith at travelingvortex.com.
And I
Let
haven't
him know
haven't seen you at
he
all
needs to
tonight.
stay on track.
I mean, granted, we were in a
Stay on
movie
track.
for 2 hours, but
And then we were
staying
in
on
Red
target.
Robin.
Yeah, but I mean, you didn't.
But, yeah,
I didn't see any point in time between here and there that you needed to have one. I mean, maybe you didn't need to have one, but you didn't. So.
I'm using the patch, and it's helping quite a bit. I still have
Go ahead.
4
Go ahead and say
cigarettes
it.
a day.
Go ahead and say it. Oral fixations. Say it.
Oral fixation.
There you go. Admitting it is the first step.
I end up having... My first day, I had like 6.
Which is still down for you.
Yeah, I mean, I used to smoke 3/4 of a pack a day. So, just the amount I'm down to is fantastic. And today has been a Sunday. The weekend has been the hardest so far. Because work, I can keep busy. I can do stuff. It's the weekend that I'm having trouble with. So,
Yeah.
I'm definitely stepping down. Hopefully next week I can step down to... I will have a day where I won't have a single cigarette at all. That's my goal. I tried Thursday. And then the power went out during the 5 o'clock.
Oh, that's right. You did have a bit of a stressful day that day.
And then I had a cigarette.
I suppose we can forgive you that
Yeah.
one.
But there was a trailer came out, right?
There was a trailer.
I digress.
Yes. What'd you guys think of the trailer?
Oh, just...
Oh, there's so much good there.
We could spend the entire episode dissecting this
Yeah,
trailer.
we could. We're not going to do that.
No,
but
we're not. Because,
could.
honestly,
I
now
can't
that I've
wait to
seen
see
it once and seen just the glimpses of... Was that what I think it might have been in the background of that one shot? I don't want to go back and look.
Oh, see, I do. I'm so going to go pick
I
this
want
thing
to,
apart.
but I'm not going to.
I'm so going to go back and pick this thing apart and look at every little bit of it.
I can't wait for somebody to do screen caps and breakdown of
Yeah.
what's in the trailer.
What we do know is, well, we don't know.
Spoilers abound. If you don't want
if
to
you
know,
have not
skip
seen
forward
this,
5 minutes.
Yeah, skip forward because we're going to talk a little bit about this trailer. We do see the silence in this trailer.
Yes.
Quite
We
heavily.
do see the angels in this trailer.
Weeping Angels are back.
We do see Patchy.
We do see Patchy, yes. I kind of figured she'd be back, but that wasn't a surprise to me, quite frankly, Keith.
You never know.
We do see Cybermen.
We did see Cybermen.
Yay!
We see, in fact, we see River with a patch. That was
that-
intriguing. That was intriguing.
I had to go back and rewatch the rest of the episode or the rest of the trailer after I saw that because I was so focused on that image that I missed what happened in the last half of the trailer.
You know, it was one of those stop and wait. Was that River with the patch?
Wait,
and
what a minute.
What's interesting, and of course this doesn't work because we've seen the end, but I didn't realize until recently, going back and rewatching Good Man Goes to War, how much River and Patchy do kind of look alike. Like Patchy could be some weird offshoot futuristic version of River. Now that doesn't work because we've got to the end of that. We've seen how River goes out.
But time can be rewritten.
But time can be rewritten, which is the entire theme of this. So,
Or I'm just randomly making this up as I go along right now. Or Patchy pulls River from the library and she takes over Patchy's body.
Maybe she would need a vessel.
She would need a vessel.
If you're
that's what
going
the eye
to-
patch is.
If you're going to,
It's the vessel!
It's the big Matrix plug into her brain.
if you're going to rescue the what's left of River, you have to have a vessel for
Something-
it.
Yeah.
That's good. It's interesting. I love it. But I wouldn't think it would be Patchy that plucked her out. Maybe somebody else plucked her out of the Matrix
And put her in
Patchy. Yeah, I don't know. It's
possible. I
We'll
don't
see.
know.
We're way wildly speculating.
We're
here.
off the
Although
reservation.
we way wildly speculated at one point and came up with the fact that River was Amy's daughter.
That was all
that
you.
ended up working. So,
I still don't buy it.
oh, another big one. Who else should we see coming back this season? Churchill.
Churchill.
And
Which, as Sean pointed out, and I didn't think of this until he said it, but Sean pointed out, I said, hey, did you see Churchill's coming back? And Sean says, well, there's Nazis. Of course Churchill's coming
The
back.
next episode is called "Let's Kill Hitler."
And I thought,
Churchill will be back.
yeah. And I also found interesting that they're standing in Hitler's office and they say, or he says to her,
oh, you saved my life.
You saved my life.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That might be why they have to kill him.
So they saved
because Let's
they
Save
saved
Hitler
him.
was not going to work so well.
They saved his life from when he was going to kill himself, so they had to go back and re-kill him?
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe everything that we have learned that has happened from World War II on, we are in the alternate history. Where they did accidentally save him, and that's why it has to now be fixed. It's like that episode of Quantum Leap where they have to go back because Jackie Kennedy got killed in the assassination
Instead
attempt.
of, yep.
So,
Which, and also, we see Craig again.
oh,
Yes.
yes.
We knew Craig was
We knew
coming
Craig
back.
We knew
was
Craig
coming
was
back,
coming back, but we got a great bit of dialogue.
A great,
Doctor,
funny little dialogue.
Are you going to
there.
kiss me? Yes, Craig. Yes, I am. Which had been released previously in a short little bit of clips
Never saw
from
that.
the
I
entire
had never seen that
BBC
either.
drama.
Oh, actually, I did. I saw him embracing, but you don't hear the
I could
dialogue.
I could hear it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, there's music underneath it, but you can hear it.
Oh, okay. I didn't pay attention there then, I guess.
I
Because I did see that it's everything that's coming out recently. So, yeah. So, anything else you guys want to talk about this trailer other than we're super
August can't
excited?
go quick enough.
Yes, I know. That is so cool.
Now-
but it's only like 4 weeks away.
Oh, okay, here.
A little more than 4 weeks.
My
Give it-
birthday's
give it-
in August.
Give it to us again.
I'll be 27 in August.
It's a good thing you quit smoking. You could wind up like Amy Winehouse. Sorry, had to throw it in there.
Oh no!
Which is, I'll be 27 when it returns on the 27th on the month of my birth.
Ah, okay.
I just thought that was random.
That's very random.
Serendipity.
Yes.
And
No,
what,
that
what
was
season
random.
is this?
7!
No.
6.
No.
Damn.
Still pretty random.
Wait, 27? 28?
No, it's 30,
31?
32, 32.
I don't know.
It's a big number.
Hang on.
I'm not that ignorant.
I have notes.
Eventually
Talk
I
amongst
might catch
yourselves.
up. No, I won't.
Now, going back,
Oh no, I don't.
when and this
I haven't
was,
written down seasons yet. Sorry.
this was done off air, but I had emailed Glenn with a complete workup of potential shows, what we should review, and Friday Night Who episodes for like the next, I don't know, millennium or
Year.
so. And Glenn says, you realize all this is going to go completely out the window when the show comes back. And I said, yeah, but it'll come back at the end of August.
And he was right. All right.
Say
if
that
you-
a little louder, please, Glenn.
He
I don't
was
think
right. He was
Yeah,
right.
there it was.
All right, here, guys. Here we go. If you count the movie as the 27th season, ironically,
That number's
Because-
surrounding us.
the 7th Doctor's last season was 26.
Was 26.
So if you count the 8th Doctor's as 27, then 28,
32?
29, 30.
This is such riveting
31.
podcasting, isn't he?
Now here's the other thing. Do you count the
The
specials?
specials, I always do.
All right,
but
so that's 32.
I know BBC doesn't.
Last year was 33.
No, technically
This
they
would
wouldn't
technically
count.
be season 34.
But they don't count the specials because we would technically be in season 7
Right.
or series 7 if they counted the specials
And
as
they
its
don't
own
count the
season.
specials.
That's right.
as
They
their
count them
season.
as a series.
No, they count it as part of series 4.
Or they count. I'm sorry.
Well,
They
no.
don't count them as
They
part
don't
of the
count
series.
as really either. This is
Yeah.
the complete season 4. This is the complete specials. This is the complete season 5.
Okay, so
So-
then we're in 33.
33.
technically. So
33.
you were right. Didn't you say 33?
I was one off. I said 32.
What'd you say?
I think 32, 33. I got it from Stephen Moffat.
Oh, okay.
Because back when he took over the show, he
Right.
said, "This isn't series 1. This is." He said, "If you want to be technical, this is either series 5 or series 30 something." I don't remember
Yeah.
what he had said. So I was like,
Well, it must
"Woohoo,
have been
Stephen
31.
Moffat!" So.
So, okay. All right. Well, moving along to feedback
Exciting
now,
stuff.
right? Yeah.
Yes,
exciting
feedback.
stuff. So
You
exciting.
can now jump back in.
Yeah, if you're trying to avoid spoilers,
Hopefully that was 5 minutes.
welcome back. If you got spoiled and were ashamed, I'm sorry.
It disappeared.
Got
Did
it.
you get it?
Yep.
Good. It disappeared on me. I couldn't see it anymore.
If you heard
Killing
a big
bugs
clap,
in here.
yeah. Okay, first feedback is from Chrissy.
Hey!
Dear Vortex boys,
Sorry, go ahead.
I have never heard you guys on so many off-topic tangents. Seriously, ending the podcast with the Back to the Future theme? Good for you! While on the subject, Back to the Future is my absolute favorite movie in the entire world.
Yay!
I grew up thinking they made the movie just for me because it takes place the year I was born. Not the day, not the month, the year. I'm a weird kid.
Now we know how old Chrissy is.
I'm a weird kid. What can I say?
For those of you following along at home, do the math.
Sorry for my lack of feedback last week. I did start something to send in, but it came rambly and intense and kind of mushy, so I reworked it and posted it to my blog, which I read, and it was a great blog entry. CJ's Notebook 5 at .blogspot.com. But the Human Nature two-parter is my favorite Doctor Who story. I love it even more than Blink. I know it makes me a bad Doctor Who fan, but I really don't care. Anyway, here's some feedback. Regarding the Moving Right Along video, I actually have that on my iPod in my car, so when I'm stuck in traffic, I can fire it up and watch it. It was stuck in my head for a couple weeks too. Sean, I'm sorry it caused some discord at your house. Please give Mel my utmost apologies.
She's over it. She wants it on her phone now as a ringtone. So.
My thoughts on 42. Obviously, I didn't like this one as much as you guys did. I thought it was a bit more of an homage to the show 24, which I'm a big fan of. I hadn't read any Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, nor did I have any idea that Douglas Adams had a connection to Doctor Who when I first saw this episode. I was quite a newbie at the time, so I had a hard time with it. I felt like it was trying too hard to be 24, but there's so much more to 24 than just the real-time running around crazy aspect of it. So this episode of Doctor Who is one that I routinely forget about. For me, Series 3 falls off at Lazarus Experiment and only picks back up at Human Nature. From there on out, David Tennant can do no wrong, and I'm glad to hear that Keith is slowly becoming part of the 10th Doctor fan club. I have faith by the time he gets to the end of the specials, 10 will be in a cage match with 11 for the title of Keith's favorite Doctor. Well, let's not get crazy, Chrissy. I have to add my love for Big Finish, and it would be wonderful for you guys to do some reviews of those stories. Like you, I love Big Finish for giving the 8th Doctor more adventures, but I also have to add that they gave us the 6th Doctor as he should have been portrayed on TV had the BBC not mounted a campaign to cancel Doctor Who during the Colin Baker's era.
I would agree with that. The Big Finish audio has made me love the Sixth Doctor even more.
You all know how much of a fan of the 5th Doctor I am, but I absolutely adore Six's Big Finish stories. If you haven't yet, you owe yourself to check some of that stuff out. I would start with the Marion Conspiracy, which introduces Evelyn Smith as Smythe.
Smythe, dear, not Smith.
As the Doctor's companion. She's fantastic.
Which I've heard. I've heard that she's fantastic. I haven't heard the audio drama yet. So.
Yeah.
I'm still working my way through 8.
I believe, if I recall right, Evelyn was in one of the ones that I listened to, which was the One Doctor. The One Doctor? Yeah. The One Doctor.
Kind of a
that doesn't sound that exciting.
No, it's a play on the third Doctor, or the 3 Doctors, the 2 Doctors, the 5 Doctors. But it's set up in a way that I don't want to say anything because I don't want to spoil it. But it's set up in such a way that it's actually kind of a comedy, as well as a very, very good drama story. So that's where I'm going to leave it there. Maybe that'll be one of the ones we review first because it's a lot of fun and I like it a lot. And I believe that was Evelyn. And I believe the thing I liked most about Evelyn is the fact that it was interesting and we talked about this before, how the dynamic between the Doctor and an older companion is. So, yeah, because she's quite older. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Not
older than the Doctor,
like
but
9,
older
1000?
older than the companions we've seen on the TARDIS before.
Oh,
yes.
She's not a nubile young girl.
No, exactly. So, anyway, I digress.
That's it for now. I'm looking forward to the Master Adversary Archive, which, if you think about it, a lot of the stories with the Master deal with the Doctor's history on Gallifrey, so you could call this your Gallifrey Archive or something. However, I'm a little miffed that none of the Fifth Doctor Master stories made it to your archive.
There's a reason for that.
I can sort of see why that's the case. Would you guys honestly subject Keith to time fright?
Yes.
Or time flight?
Yeah.
Yes, we will.
We will eventually, yes.
But there's a certain line in a certain upcoming Children in Need special that would have added relevancy to a 5-era Master story, but that's all I'll say on the subject. You guys know what you're doing. And I'm looking forward to an excuse to see Shreem of the Shalka. Scream of the Shalka. Shreem.
Well, and here I was having problems with Shalka. I didn't know that Scream was going to be a trippy word.
I know Shalka, I don't have a problem with.
I didn't know it was pronounced Shreem. I've been doing this thing all wrong.
Great Scott, Marty, I've rambled on enough. On with the podcast. Chrissy, P.S. I have to know what your one problem with Back to the Future is. You can't just end the podcast with that kind of rant. Now can you? P.P.S. Regarding David Tennant in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, his character was supposed to have died at the end of the movie. At least he did in the book.
I didn't remember that when we talked about that.
I really don't remember him dying in the book.
And so when you said he could have made a cameo... See, I didn't remember him coming back in the books, but I didn't remember him dying either. So I agreed with the fact that you said he could make a cameo because I said, well, yeah, because by the time the Death Eaters become, political seats in the government... Yeah, they pretty much let everybody out of Azkaban. I mean, we see Malfoy come back. So, obviously, people were being let out of Azkaban. They could have let Barty Crouch Jr. out as well. Had David Tennant come back for a cameo. Then again, I didn't remember that he had died in the book. So,
but they still never established it in the movie. So
no, they didn't.
They changed so much else.
Yeah, he could have come back.
Christy goes on to say that's why he never made another appearance. But that movie was so butchered anyway that it doesn't matter. It's sad that the only Harry Potter movie David Tennant was in was also the worst Harry Potter movie of the bunch. Not because of David Tennant. Everything else in that movie was just a big mess.
The good news with that is that David Tennant is in the first 10 minutes of the film, so you can cue it up, watch it till he's gone, and then stop.
And then jump forward to
the
where,
end.
Pattinson dies, which I thought was the best part of that movie.
Who?
Robert
Who died?
Pattinson.
Who's that?
Edward from Twilight.
Oh, right. Cedric.
Cedric. And then
I don't know the guy's real name. Cedric.
The whole I can't remember his name because I dislike the movie that much. But then the whole Voldemort issue after his death was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was just that middle section of the movie that sucked.
It's just the middle part.
It's just the Triwizard Tournament that sucked.
Yeah, really.
I got to agree with him on that. Hang on.
I still rate.
Is that the end of the?
That's the end of it.
That's the end. Okay. Don't go there because
No,
I know where you're going.
No, I don't.
Where was it? No. Where was it?
Where was what?
I had something I wanted to reply to, and I thought, no, I'll wait till he's done. And I shouldn't do that because as soon as I do that, I'll forget
we're
what I wanted
supposed
to
to wait
say.
till they're done so they can actually get their entire feedback read before we
Interrupt,
divert
but-
into something completely different.
Oh, I know what it was. Chrissy, you say that Human Nature two-parter is your favorite Doctor Who story. Now, I could be wrong. I frequently am. Didn't she say that last week about evolution of the Daleks? And didn't she say that like 3 episodes ago about something else?
She didn't say they were her favorite. She said she really likes those episodes.
I'm teasing. Put the phone down. Don't call us over that. Now, as always, Chrissy, we love hearing from
Yeah,
you.
it's always great.
I want to know what the mushy... I didn't get to read her blog post.
Go read her blog post. It's a great blog post.
Is it about us?
No.
Oh, well, then
it's
I don't
about
care.
those episodes.
No, I'm kidding.
And actually, honestly,
I'm kidding. Stop
reading
it.
those her blog posts made me appreciate that story even more. She brought up some really good points on it.
It's about human nature.
And family and blood.
Okay.
Oh, which, by the way, since we're talking about human nature, I have to make a correction on our own behalf, and I'm surprised that nobody, especially Phil must still be behind. Phil, if you are behind, here's the apology for this. The Human Nature novel actually is Bernice Summerfield, and not Ace as the companion in that one. So,
Really?
yeah, I actually went back. I told you I had the PDF of it that they offered back in the day. I went back and I was flipping through it because I had read like the first page or something and couldn't get into it. So I thought, well, I'm going to go back and
Well,
read
you really
it
didn't
again.
get far in it at all.
No,
You made it sound like last time that you got through like the first couple of chapters.
It wasn't
and
even
it
that.
was dry,
No, I started reading it. It was just so dry and bland, and I didn't like it. So I went back this time, and I started flipping through it to see why I didn't like it so much. And it's still dry, but I think I'm going to give it more of a chance. But I was kind of skimming through it to see, and Bernice pumped up, and I went, oh, that's right, it was. And I remembered at that point that it was not Ace, it was Bernice. So
Now having seen...
my apologies for
now
getting
having
that wrong,
seen
but that's
Ace, I don't think she could have done the Martha role
why. Is that right?
as well.
No, I think she and
I
Sarah
don't-
Jane both could have pulled it off.
I don't think she could have.
Anyway, we talked about it.
We'll get to that. Who's this from? Jennings Richmond.
Our new listener.
Our new listener.
You
Welcome,
who-
Jennings. Well,
Brave man.
Yeah.
Very brave man.
And is mainlining our show right now.
Oh, he's caught up.
He is current. So this
He
will
is
be
now current.
He is
Yeah.
now current. Which
That's a lot of us to deal with, and I almost feel like we should send you a pot of Marmite.
that's not really. That's not a reward or a
He
prize. That's like reaching the bottom of the Cracker Jack and getting nothing. That's how.
No,
bad
that's like
that-
getting to the bottom of a Cracker Jack, getting a mousetrap or something. That's not even pleasant.
Yeah, why would you do that to our new? Don't scare him off.
Well,
No.
he tweeted something about how we should start a trend on Twitter with Marmite and make the Vortex guys.
There
throw
was
up.
actually an entire conversation. Everything comes back to Twitter. There's an entire conversation on Twitter between a couple of guys that I follow about had Marmite on toast today. My breakfast rocks, and somebody else was like, "Oh, I totally agree." And then James Moran was on there saying, "Oh yeah, I love Marmite." And I'm like, "What the hell is wrong with you people?" I mean, honestly, because
He may live in Virginia, but he may like Marmite.
yeah, West Virginia.
West Virginia, sorry.
Represent. Jennings writes, guys, let me be the first to reiterate my praise for the podcast. Thank you. He follows the unprofessional, conventional nature is a huge draw. We thought so.
Yeah. We admit, we're unprofessional.
There's nothing professional.
No.
we don't do that here. Hope to be caught up on your podcast episodes by this weekend's podcast, which he is now. Now, to the monks and swords. I gotta go way back in the machine now.
That's okay.
First, we must presuppose two things. One, that in the Whooniverse it is possible to continue life sans cranium.
Well, they established that in the episode.
All right,
so-
we'll give it to you. Two, because of, or in addition to number one, that can produce, channel, gather, project, direct either bioelectrical, standard electrical, or some sort of ethereal type of energy. These things said, moving on. The church, in this sense, has obviously evolved from the Catholic Church, monks, papacy, bishops, etc. The sword has long been an emblem in the Catholic mythos. It is the symbol and the chosen weapon of the Archangel Michael, God's premier warrior. If one views the monks as a spiritual, militaristic extension of the church, i.e. the Archangel Michael, the presence of the swords, in at least a ceremonial sense, like the scene in the hangar, makes sense. If we continue to presume these monks are walking capacitors, the very fact of holding the swords would then charge them with energy. If you notice, the hands, the only uncovered, uninsulated portions of the monks' bodies, never touches any other metal throughout the episode. Even the interface with the papal mainframe is voice/telepathic. Hope this is assuages. That's a new one on me. The anger a smidge. It's been a blast tweeting with you guys, Jennings Richmond. So yeah, Glenn, what do you got to say about that?
Jennings, fine job.
Yay!
Now,
Aw.
I'll give him credit. He did so much better answering
Than we
that
did.
than you guys did with, it looks cool. But it looks cool. In fact, he tweeted to me the other day and said, I just sent you guys a piece of feedback that explains my point on the swords. And I tweeted back to him, I said, I'm looking forward to hearing a better answer than, it looks cool.
It did look
Thank
cool.
you. Thank you, Jennings. Nice job. I totally agree with that. I'm perfectly fine with the swords now.
I like his reasoning for it. I do have a problem with it.
You? Him, I expected this from. You have a problem?
The monks aren't part of the Catholic military. They teamed up with the Catholic military in the episode.
We don't know that.
They say that.
Oh, do they?
No.
They
no,
say
no,
they
no.
formed a
no,
partnership.
no.
They did form a partnership.
But they are not warriors of the army.
No. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
They're another
Listen to
sect
me.
of something else.
No, wait. They are all under the same umbrella of whatever religion is, whether it's Catholicism or even Christianity. They're all under that same umbrella. They're all under that same tie. Now, you're right, they're different sects. It's almost like Catholics and Lutherans, or
See, I got the impression that it wasn't even under the Catholic
No,
umbrella.
I
or the
never
Christian
got
umbrella.
that. No, I never got that impression.
I'll have to go back and
No,
rewatch the
in fact,
episode
when they
then.
talk about the papal mainframe, that's almost more that that leads me to the fact that it's more like the monks are the Catholicism here, and the Christian army is more of the splintered off. What's the
Episcopalian.
No, not the whole group. If you're not Catholic,
Protestant.
You're Protestant. Yeah, that's the way
I
I
gotcha.
gathered.
I gotcha.
Is that they are the true line of Catholicism. The monks are. Because they talked about the papal mainframe and all this, which is the idea of the Pope.
They do seem to
and
take it
that
a bit
maybe
more fanatically.
the Anglican army is the Protestant division, and they have paired up in order to. Yeah, I agree.
Maybe
so
I
that's
should go
why I
back
think the
and rewatch the
symbolism,
episode.
symbolism still works, if anything.
At any rate, thanks for making us look bad. We appreciate it.
No. Yes, thanks for making them look bad.
I still maintain the swords are cool.
They do look cool, and some things you just
The swords may indeed look cool, but that's a terrible excuse to have them in an episode.
I brought up the point that
Dewbacks.
They were functional. They were lizards. It was a desert planet.
Made
Made perfect sense.
Those things lumbered across the dunes. You could have walked over there faster than that damn thing could have carried that stormtrooper.
You never saw one at a full run. You don't know.
And how much does the Empire invest in feeding and housing dewbacks in order to get around on backwater planets like Tatooine when they got an entire fleet of TIE fighters, landers, speeders, spaceships, AT-STs?
I get the impression that it's probably a sand planet issue. You know, anything gets sucked up into that sand gets sucked up into those engines. They're just toast, and then you end up spending a lot more money trying to replace those ships than it does a silly dewback to feed him day after day. I'm telling you.
See, I brought up the point after I read his email at work that I thought the swords made the monks more menacing before we unveiled that they didn't have a head.
We already knew they didn't have a head. They're called the Headless
They're
Monks.
called the Headless Monks, but we didn't literally know their head was missing.
It was no surprise when they pulled it down and all that was there was the little nub that
I gotta
off.
admit, that was pretty anticlimactic. With a name like the Headless Monks, it's like, I know what to expect.
I mean,
here.
I would have been shocked if they had heads. That would have been a lot cooler. Or not cooler, but at least more surprising
or
to me.
if they'd had like the Hannibal Lecter, like this part of their skull was
yeah, there
was
you go.
chopped
Like
off.
just the cranial part.
I
of the
almost
head was
expected that, not the entire head being gone.
gone. I don't know. I know. Anyway,
You know who handles.
we'll get to your other piece of email in a minute,
Yeah,
James.
you know who handles. Who's very happy that the Empire does use dewbacks? Old Man Jones, because he pulls out of that manure and puts it in the back of his truck. Get that tie-in.
All right, Jenny. you just tied Back to the Future into Star Wars.
That's right. I went
Good
there.
on you. Good on you. All right.
Just hope Biff doesn't show up.
Jennings Richmond also sent another piece of feedback to us right after that. It says, so, I'm caught up on my Vortex. Sorry, name of our show, I can't even say it.
Now, you screwed up Vortex, and he screwed up. What did you screw up earlier?
Scream.
No. You
Stream.
screwed up part of the name
He
of the
said
show.
Stream.
Was it Vortex?
No, I didn't screw
whatever.
that up.
It was
I
part
said
of the name
Vortex
of a
Boys.
show. Yeah.
It
right,
was,
so-
it was Vortex. You're both having problems with it because you said Vorta Boys or something. You screwed
I
it
said
up.
Vortex Boys.
You did say it weird. I
said it
kind of
quickly.
I laughed. I laughed
said
a
it
little bit.
quickly.
Whatever. We're arguing over how we pronounce it. So I'm caught up with my Vortex. Much looking forward to your 30th podcast as I'm coming up on my 30th birthday just next month.
Serendipity.
Happy anniversary, birthday. Yeah.
Well, you can't say birthday, so.
It's that word, where you turn a year older.
He goes on to say, done with the gushing, time for my one issue. Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey works for Doctor Who, but not Keith's apologies.
Analogies.
Oh yeah, sorry, analogies. Yeah. Somebody else should be reading this.
This was the shortest
Show/movie X can't pull a show/movie Y if X was made first. Give credit for originality where it's due, not to some commercialized ripoff that came to the party 20 to 30 years late. Keep 'em coming, Jenny Richmond. P.S. Forget that Martha's English in Shakespeare's code. You can't be an African American in 1599 anyway, since there's no America.
That's another good point.
That is not a
great
good point. I have a counter to that.
Oh, Glenn K. Wow,
Now,
this is like a whole thing here.
The naming of America, actually, as everybody knows, is named from Amerigo Vespucci. America is the feminization of Amerigo, because all continents and areas, land masses were named after women. They were just named female.
Yeah, who didn't know that?
Now, the earliest name of America for the landmass dates back to April 25th of 1507, where it was used for what is known as South America, and it appears on a small globe map with 12 time zones, together with the largest wall map to date, and both created by German cartographer Martin. I'm not going to get this last one. Waldseemüller. Anyway, in France, ironically enough, German from France. But anyway, it goes on to state that that was actually on maps. America was being used as the term. Now, granted, it was South America mostly for the landmass, but America was named before 1590. What did he say? 1590. We've got
Posed it.
Before that time frame. So I will dispute that fact.
And
Now,
Jennings.
now, granted, we use African American to relate to people
1599.
in the United States
Yeah.
of America, but I thought I'd get a little nitpicky there and
So-
maybe a pedant a little bit.
And I will.
Was Africa around?
I didn't go that far.
I'm just curious.
I'm sure it was.
Well, obviously,
Was it called
continent was here.
Africa?
obviously
I don't
the
know.
continent was there. I don't think it was,
Was it named
Pangea, but
Africa?
that would be a really good Doctor Who, wouldn't it?
Go back to
Pangea.
Pangea.
They go all the way back. Where are we, Doctor? Well, from the smell of the air, I'd say it's Pangea.
It's the only place they could have landed on Earth because it was the only continent.
Yeah.
I like it.
And something he does causes
the
an
next one you're gonna
explosion
write.
that starts continental drift.
Yeah. Oh.
I like it. And here you're spilling all this on a podcast when you could be writing the next Doctor Who.
Stephen Moffat, you can have that one too.
Write that short story. I want to
Yeah,
read
whatever.
that one.
I'm stuck on
Circle in
Bob.
a sea, traveling the vortex.
And Jennings, I will work on my comparing Doctor Who.
Hey, I read that before. I have to ask: is there a specific reference he's talking about?
I'm
now,
not
I
sure.
know.
I'm sure I've done it a lot.
I'm sure
just
you've
because
done it where
it's
you've-
based
yeah.
off of how I've seen things.
Right.
I will try to rearrange it so I say I didn't realize that blank ripped off this.
There
instead.
you go.
I think it's pretty much every podcast that Keith goes, well, it's just like in that episode of Lost where this happened. Or I'll do it a lot where it's just like that episode of Star Trek where this happened.
Which
But-
for new series still counts.
Well, I would have to agree that the Star Trek references are often quite correct unless you're using Next Gen to, compare something to the classic series, and then it doesn't.
Now,
because
it
a lot of
may
that
be
takes
that that was the specific argument that he was throwing out there was our discussion on the next time on Next Gen to be continued, and now the conclusion. It could have been that, too, that we were having. But I don't think so.
I have
I
a
don't
feeling
think so
I've just
either.
referenced a lot of stuff.
Jennings maybe ought to be a little more clear on that. Maybe maybe he'll reference the.
If you'd like to see us go on yet another tangent, please email us with your clarifications.
Anyway, thanks for the feedback, Jim.
Yeah, definitely.
And we're glad you're listening. So we're
And-
glad you're
and-
caught up, except for now you only get us for a couple hours at a time a week because you're caught up. You can't mainline us anymore.
Which, and from what I understand, he works overnights, and that might make things a little longer
Yeah.
with all the silence.
Yeah. Is
What?
He's working with the silence?
What?
Who?
Huh?
Ah!
Okay, the other bit of
Oh.
feedback is Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Hello again, guys. Just a quick message with a quickly made present for Sean. Don't worry, it's not Marmite.
Yay.
I've just read his short story, Time and Time Again, and I thought it was brilliant. The little touches, such as the Fourth Doctor playing with the scarf as he's walking along, made me realize what a brilliant writer Sean actually is. Careful, Mark. Soon we're not going to be able to fit in the same studio as Sean.
His hand's getting so
Yeah.
big.
You flatter me, sir.
So I quickly ran to the computer and tried to throw a little gift together. I ended up with a Cyberman Bob picture. That's all for now, Sean. I'm begging you to continue submitting stories to the website, as I always enjoy them. And if you ever write a book, please don't forget to assign copy to send a signed copy to your Marmite-crazed #1 fan across the pond. That's all from now, from Mark.
And I thank you very much, Mark, because that means a lot that you enjoy the stories.
Sean Collins, out of the millions of people who saw my apparent death scene, you are the only one who saw the truth. I am alive. I am Cyberman Bob. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, we'll post that on the website as well. That's
Yes.
that's incredible.
And no, I haven't given up on Cyberman Bob. I have written myself into a corner. Hopefully, Glenn and Keith are now.
I've read it.
I am finished, and I don't know
for
where to
Pete's
go
sake.
with you from.
Oh, you don't?
I've given him my suggestion, but
I have a couple different suggestions.
I don't think it gave him much help.
for where to go with it, and I don't know where to go with it. But I figured I'd throw time and again up just to.
Which I read it and I enjoyed it. I
Thank
didn't
you.
quite get the reference of why he shouldn't go wherever he shouldn't
There
go.
wasn't one. Mel said the same thing. Which episode was that in? It's like there wasn't. I just made that up.
Well,
Aquita's a made-up planet, unless you want to say that Aquita. For the really astute among you who are paying attention, maybe I shouldn't spoil this, but Aquita is the name of the city in Ladyhawke. I stole that. But no, it didn't have anything to do with anything else.
in your mind, was this after Sarah Jane left?
No, I wanted to.
Because he almost seemed angry at the Sarah Jane reference and hurt by it.
I was hoping to give the impression that maybe whatever the events that would have happened in Aquita maybe led to something very bad happening to Sarah Jane. And then that's why, now that, because you're not supposed to cross your own time streams, that's a big no-no. It's happened before, usually with Time Lord interference, but it's not supposed to happen. So the fact that, well, what could make him want to breach that?
Actually, always with the
Well,
with the exception of one.
with the exception of one.
Yeah.
What would make him
Breach that.
breach that and go there? And if let's say that Sarah Jane had died on Aquita, that whatever transpired there, that it resulted in her death, and there was a whole parallel alternate skew off of that tangent that would have happened. And then Peter Davidson's Fifth Doctor finally comes along and says, you know what, no, we're not going there. And so he goes back and changes that event to what we now know is the actual series of events, that maybe they have a couple more adventures, and then he dumps her before he goes home to Gallifrey in Deadly Assassin, which we're reviewing today. So,
Yes.
I don't know. Mel didn't think it was terribly clear either, so I don't think that I'm a very good writer, quite honestly. I mean, I think there's some
I
things
just
that do
didn't
well,
know
but-
if it was something I didn't know from the show.
No, it's actually
Being the newbie I am.
it's actually a little
Or
recycled.
the novice, I'm sorry.
Glenn read the original way
Long
back.
time ago, back when you were publishing your.
I was publishing a science fiction magazine, and I'd written it just as a little, offshoot filler for that. It was the first time I'd ever attempted to tackle a story set in somebody else's sandbox, and I didn't think I did it justice then. And so when I was, flailing about with Cyberman Bob, trying to come up with something to do with it, I thought, well, I'll post something else so that there's still that continued input, and they don't think that I'm a hack. And I'll give them this. So I dug it out of a drawer and dusted it off and kind of reworked it just a little bit and threw it up there. So maybe it still needs some more fleshing out and some more rework. Have you read it?
I haven't read it recently. No.
I'd be curious to get
I will do so.
impressions now
as
that
soon
it's
as
up.
I get
But as soon as you get your
internet working again.
but
gets back to work.
Or it gets back to
Or
work.
it gets back to work. Right.
But again, thank you very much, Mark. It does mean a lot to me that you enjoy the silly little stories that come out of my head. So,
I always
and we
enjoy
love. Oh God, I love the Cyberman Bob banner.
Oh, yeah.
The picture, and it is very, very cool. So we'll get that up.
All right. Well, moving right along. Dun, 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 dun. We'll move into our review this week.
Would you hand me the liner notes?
Let me hand you the liner notes here. Going deep into the vault for the.
Starting with The Claws of Axos, a John Pertwee story. A mysterious object approaches Earth, alerting the Doctor and unit that they face another possible threat from outer space.
Space!
Are they goldskin aliens who claim to bring great gifts to humanity, as peaceful and benevolent as they first appear? If so, why is the Doctor's arch enemy, the Master, on board their spaceship? Dun-dun-dun! Okay, that doesn't deserve a dun-dun-dun.
Nah, it doesn't really deserve. Do you realize that you said... I'm picking on your speech tonight, I'm sorry. Do you realize you said Whomanity?
Humanity!
Because it's Doctor Who, that's funny.
Gifts to humanity. That's what I said.
You said Whomanity. That's okay.
There's your episode title.
Whomanity.
Humanity.
Yeah, write that down.
Humanity.
Whomanity.
Or use it later, and then we'll reference this episode.
Humanity.
And the Claws of Axos. Wow. I love John Pertwee, and this is a rather lame story.
I wish he was in it more.
I'm surprised you guys chose this for a Master Archive when there's surely
Well, we should have chose Sea Devils so that you guys could actually see it all the way
when
through.
there's so many more Masters.
There really are. There's the King's Demons.
There's so many more Pertwee
no, not the King's Demons.
Master stories.
That was the
That was
Davison
5,
one.
yeah.
The Demons, right? Just spelled D-A-E-M.
The Daemons.
The
yeah.
Daemons.
Daemons.
Yeah. Daemons. D-A-E-M. Yeah. The A together. Yeah, that would have been a good Master story too. In
That
fact,
would have been good.
I like that one a lot. But.
I mean, the Master.
I
in
think
this
what-
is
one of the
just kind
ideas
of so.
One of the ideas, and I guess the Daemons do this as well, but one of the ideas with this one, I think, was to give you more of the insight of how the Master is always working with some entity, some species, some alien. And in this one, he's more of a trapped, unwilling
Yeah.
working with, but he's always utilizing somebody to bring about his plans. And I think that was kind of at least in my impression, the way why we had picked this one, so that this was kind of it kind of gives you a good idea of how the no, Sean's shaking his head. He's going, nope, I just randomly threw this one out there because I actually had the DVD.
I owned it on DVD. It's like, hey, look, the Master's in. Let's review that one. I've not seen it.
That was my intent then, so that this was a good story that is inclusive of the Master always seeming to use others in order to carry forth or carry out his ploys. Even though it's more of a forced thing in this one.
I did not get that impression
he
from
is-
the Master in this episode.
And
the other two,
quite frankly,
made the
well, that's
Master
just
seem
it.
much more of a menacing enemy than he did in Claws.
Quite frankly, I had forgotten that he was captive in this one until he shows up. And then I went, oh, that's right, he is a captive of the Axos in the beginning. And I mean, he's still trying to use them for his own needs because he ends up convincing them to let him go get the Doctor's TARDIS, or pull the Doctor's TARDIS on board, because then he is going to steal the Doctor's TARDIS so that he can get away. But,
From what I learned of the Claws of Axos about the Master is that he will tell whoever he needs to, whatever he needs to, in order to live.
Yeah,
and get
pretty
away.
much.
yeah.
That's all I pulled away from the Master.
And
in
that
this
happens
episode.
too. I think that's very typical of the Master. That's very atypical of the Master.
And the Claws of the Axos. Wow. I was kind of on board when there were the gold weird people and
The Oscar Red statues.
yeah, what's going on, and then it just kind of spiraled down, like they couldn't resolve it.
You know, what's funny is because I hadn't seen this one. This was part of the bulk purchase that Mel made for me, and so I was excited because it was new Who to me. And watching it, you read the description on the back, and it kind of sounds, wow, this could be really cool. This is a great sounding, story. And then you start watching it, it just isn't. It's really... There are moments in it that you want to... I mean, even the bad gold-skinned makeup, I didn't think was bad.
No,
No, the makeup itself
the
wasn't
costuming
bad.
is very,
Costuming,
very well done in this.
And the building of the Axos ship.
The interior.
The interiors were impressive, and there was a lot of stuff that worked. And again, one of the things that the 70s/80s, whichever decade these are set in, era Doctor Who does well is let's go to some weird scientific laboratory with a gigantic glass door that we really don't have a need for, other than cool things are going to happen inside of it. And they did. I mean, there was always that bit of technical stuff, but none of
fusion chamber
Yeah.
or whatever that thing was.
None of these elements really held together. We sat there and watched this, and kind of through the whole thing, I think all of us had this, when is it going to get going? When is it going to get good? When is it going to get... And it never did. It never... For me, it didn't. It never felt like it.
I think one of the weak points is the fact that Pertwee isn't in it as much
He really isn't.
as he should be.
I agree with you. I love Pertwee, and I kept waiting for more Pertwee, and he was off camera a lot in this one.
Maybe he was on holiday.
It's been the standard practice.
I didn't look that up. Maybe he was.
Or got sick.
And kind of the same with the Master. The Master, I actually get a little frustrated that he's constantly at the beck and call, almost, of these other alien races, specifically in the Pertwee era, that they bring him on board to be the Moriarty. That he is the evil mastermind to counter the Doctor's Sherlock Holmes. But he's always got some alien race that he's bringing in to enslave the planet. And inevitably they are more powerful, and he has to reverse it by the end of the episode. I mean,
Well,
they team up with
you
the
always
Doctor.
find
The
him,
Doctor.
in the Pertwee era, you always find him teaming up with the Doctor in some way, whether it be the Sea Devils, whether it be the Demons, whether it be Claws of Axos. Yeah, you always see
Terror
that.
of the Autons.
Terror of the Autons, absolutely. You always see that. But I think that him being paired up with these alien races is very true to his name. He's the master. He's always trying to puppeteer something, whether he's seemingly the victim.
So far, it seems like he's not a great puppeteer.
Well, this one is a bad example
This
of
one is
that.
a bad
we probably
example.
we did a disservice to you, which we seem to keep doing, but in introducing you to the Master, although you've been introduced to the Master, you've seen Terror. That was another thing that
I've seen
I
the
also
movie,
felt,
I've seen Terror.
I also felt very comfortable putting you into this one because you already have an idea of the Master. You have already gotten some background,
Well,
some
you've
history.
seen
of the Master.
Terror of the Autons. You've seen Doctor Who the movie. You've
Sea Devils,
seen
some of.
Sea Devils.
Half of the Sea Devil.
Yeah.
What was the other recent
most of
John Pertwee that we watched that Master was in?
Claws of Axos.
I thought there was another one that we watched. That
The only ones we've watched now
I
are
guess
the
it was
Solarians and the
Carnival of Monsters. he
Carnival
wasn't in.
Monsters.
No.
I thought for sure there was another one out there. Maybe
I
I'm
believe so.
thinking of this one, but you've got some Master under your
Yeah,
belt
got a
already.
little bit.
So, and more so than later when we got into
Truthfully,
a
I
couple
did it just to knock the tarnish off Pertwee. No, I'm
It
kidding.
wasn't Pertwee's
It wasn't.
fault. He
No,
was
no,
hardly
no, no.
in it.
Not at all.
I mean,
The Brigadier was in it.
he was. It was nice to see the Brigadier.
It was interesting to see Unit be arrested by the regular.
Oh,
Wait, you're arresting Unit?
I got the stunt driving. And was it the fourth episode where the unit guys are in the Jeep, and the guy, the Axon, leaps onto the hood of the Jeep.
Oh, yeah.
And is flailing about with his styrofoam tentacles. And,
Yeah.
and they wind up abandoning ship. It goes off the cliff. It isn't even a cliff. It goes down a steep.
No, it's like a steep embankment.
It's not even a steep embankment. It's a slight grade. It's a minor hillock in the countryside, and the Jeep rolls down this hill and then explodes for no reason. It's like, seriously. I mean, and this one really blew my mind, because that's something the Pertwee episodes have always been good at. Is let's get military involvement. We've got you look at Sea Devils. We had a hovercraft, and there's helicopters and jeeps and little miniature tanks sometimes.
Well, no, that wasn't until
that was robot.
Pertwee's era.
But we get there's a lot
Baker.
of military hardware
Or Baker's era.
that they bring out for these things, and inevitably they wind up blowing a lot of it up. And this one, none of that ever appeared. It was a couple of guys in a Jeep, and that was about it. And it's like, huh?
Well, that was what you did. We haven't reviewed it. Maybe you haven't seen it, but the Green Death was that way too.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Which
Is
is on
that the-
Netflix. I've been tempted to watch it.
Is that the one with the wasp?
No, it's
It's like
what
the
is it?
larvae?
It's like
The big-
worms.
the
Was
big
there a
fly.
There was, yes,
The big
that's right.
fly,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. That
It's been a while, but
well, that and the green screen effects where they're going through the tunnel and there's like all the larvae all over the place, the big worms that are very bad green screen. But anyway,
you don't want to watch it on Netflix. You want to wait till we get the DVD on that one, and then we'll watch the alternate special effects.
Yes, that's what.
Maybe they'll fix it.
If there's one there, well, that's the way we need to watch it. But I don't know that there's an alternate set.
Glenn has. Do you have anything else you want to throw out there about Axos?
No, that's about it. That's my
Glenn
thoughts
has
on it.
extensive
I
notes
do.
from 3 weeks ago.
I'm not going to touch on a lot of these because a lot of this was just things to jog my memory. So that's why I went, because I knew this was going to be so far out, and I knew that my memory is horrible, that I wouldn't remember a lot, even having seen this again. So I did write a lot of extensive notes down, but some of the things I did want to point out. Well, let me go through. The one thing that I liked was, and it seems like we always have this guy. We always have this one ministry guy that comes in and throws his weight around and tries to do things his way and ends up mucking things up even more. We had that in the Sontarans. We had this in
Terror of the
Autons. We have this now. We've even got that to a point, well, in Green Death, which you guys haven't seen. But the only one that we don't have that is when we finally get off planet, Carnival of Monsters, and then we have the authorities there on that planet mucking things up. So, I mean, that always seems to be a theme there of the Pertwee era, that we've got one ministry guy in there mucking things up. And so, keeping with true fashion, here it was again, that one ministry guy mucking things up.
And was he like horrible ministry guy? Like he was above and beyond the bad ministry stereotype.
That's just it. We've always had the type that, even in the Sea Devils we had the ministry. Anyway, I'm sorry. But we always have the one guy that comes in and kind of bumbles it and doesn't agree, but they can always convince him. This guy was not having any of it. He was like, okay, we're going to try it your way. That didn't work. Okay, it's all my way from here on out. I mean, it was just like, this guy was just Stonewall. I mean, we were going to budge this guy. So,
at least this one had more of a backbone to him.
He did. He really did.
Well, and part of that was obviously the greed aspect of, we've got unlimited use. And I loved the boss slapping him down there at the end. It's like, nope, you screwed it up. You're done. Okay.
Yeah. I do like the American agent.
The CIA agent.
Yeah, CIA agent that's come over. I liked him. It was a very good character. It almost seems like
Bill.
you don't... Yeah, I think it was Bill. You don't know why he's there, though, for the longest time. He's just there.
Well, he's had something to do... There was a line early about what happened to the Master.
Right.
Well, he's escaped again.
That's what it is you get the impression that he's there to uncover where the Master went.
It almost felt like it was an extradition.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he's going to bring him back to the States for trial or something. It's like, seriously?
But yeah, then we don't have a Master there. Well, we do, fortunately. But yeah, so yeah, where does this guy come in at? But so that was I like his character.
I have to throw out and I don't know if this was. This is one of those things that maybe being on this side of the pond as an American, my impressions of the CIA agent versus what was intended. But I thought it was interesting that they put him out there, and he's kind of this gung ho. Yeah, I'm not going to put up with that. You go home, okay? And what's the first thing he does? He goes out to the spaceship site, and
right.
very, very bullheaded, very straightforward, very American. Admittedly, I mean that's something that we very much would have done. And I don't know if that was purposely set up that way. As a reflection of what the British think or thought of Americans at the time. It's not wrong.
It's not wrong.
I liked that, actually.
I think that I'm going to get off on a tangent here a little bit. I think, and this is rightfully so, and I'm not accusing the Brits of having ill thoughts towards America, but I think that they have always felt that we're bullish and very bullish and bullying when it comes to politics and how we think things should be done over there. And a very good example of that is even in recent years, in Love Actually, how they've written the president as this, smarmy guy. Have you guys seen Love Actually?
I haven't seen it.
Well, this is going to go nowhere with you, but the president is written as this smarmy guy who really comes over, and Britain's always done it America's way. And that's the impression they've given this. And Hugh Grant, believe it or not, plays the British Prime Minister. And there's a moment where he just doesn't take it anymore, and that's kind of the frame that this is set up around as well. Is that, and I think that's rightfully so, because I think that we do kind of strong arm other countries into doing things our way.
No,
and may not be appropriate, but that's the way. Unfortunately, the Americans
Traveling the Vortex would like to apologize to nations of the world on behalf of the United States. Yeah, it's just it's something we do.
I like a lot of the. I don't know that I like it, other than the fact that it's like almost appropriate. The psychedelic kind of like special effects that we get, especially in the ship, and when the ship is functioning and making their playing with their heads and trying to control them, and you get all those like weird wavy. That was cool. I like that. This is very 70s to me. I was like, because this came out in 71? 1971. Yeah.
You're totally cool with that, but flaming swords you had to have explained.
Well,
not flaming
because
sword, lightning sword.
Lightning swords.
Lightning swords he would have been okay
well,
with.
but the trippy psychedelic thing is explained by the fact that it's almost like what is affecting them when they're being controlled by this thing, by the Axons. So
I think
totally
Stephen
makes
Moffat's
sense.
going to totally come back in the second half of this 6th series and explain the lightning swords, and Glenn won't have a problem with it.
I'm satisfied with
I'm
the lightning
satisfied
swords.
with Jennings now. No, here's the thing. I'm almost embarrassed to admit this.
Oh boy.
I've seen this twice now. This was my second viewing of this. It wasn't until 2/3 of the way into this that I realized that the Claws of Axos is literal. that every time they're in the ship and somebody's captured, there are these claws
Claws that are
from
around
underneath
them.
the storm. I just totally thought it was because they were going to get their claws on Earth and take over.
And
I think it's a
Pertwee
dual
even
meaning.
says that. Pertwee even says Axos has its claws deep in the planet by
Yeah,
this point.
exactly.
And,
Yeah, there you go.
you know.
And so I'm still thinking metaphorically through this whole thing until about 2/3 of the way in this. I went, "Oh, this is literal. This Axos actually has claws." So anyway, that was quite a revelation to me on the second time through.
And the claws in a lot of the ship, it seems that video game developers watched this episode of Who and developed a lot of inner
Did it feel like Contra?
Contra.
I totally got Contra off of this.
I can see that. I can
Parts of
sort of see that.
Devil May
Metroid.
Cry.
I'm going old school.
You're going
and
platformers.
really-
He's going first-person
really old
shooters.
school.
Devil May Cry is more of an action adventure, and
Well,
same thing
yeah,
with God of War. When you enter creatures, the designs have the very same look
Gears of War.
that has.
You haven't played that one.
I haven't played
Castle
that one.
Crashers. Sorry, it does.
Just the organic look to it all. It's like they saw this.
You walk
episode
inside the
and-
Toad, and that's where your weapons cache is.
Battletoads.
Oh, Battletoads.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
that's
another
very
one.
much
Yeah,
exciting.
Battletoads.
I didn't-
I can't pan this episode. I don't think it's that bad. I thought it's an enjoyable story. I thought the Master's a bit weak in this one. The Master is trying too hard to save his own skin through the entire thing. I don't have a problem
Maybe
with
that's why I didn't like.
I don't
it
have
so
a
much.
problem with the Master setting things up and things going south on him, and then he's get out of desperation starts to try to
This
get
one
it
it's
work
from
his
the
way.
get-go.
From the
It's-
get-go,
yeah.
it's desperation all the way through, and so
maybe I just
that
went
makes
into-
it a weak Master story for me. But overall, I thought it was good. I didn't feel Pertwee is gone as much as you guys did. Now that you say it, I sort of recognize it, but I didn't miss him so much. I thought it was fine.
Maybe if the Master wouldn't have been so, it wouldn't have been such a weak Master story. The Doctor being missing wouldn't have been as noticeable for me. But I think I also went in with higher expectations. Okay, this is starting the Master Adversary Archive. This is going to be a great Master story, and the Master is just kind of
We set you up, didn't we?
Yeah, the other
save
thing
me, save
that I think needs to be touched on is that in the 4th episode, Pertwee's very bitter through this whole thing. Pertwee's Doctor, he's tired of it. He doesn't want to mess with it. He's like, maybe I ought to just let Earth go. And the bad minister and the grumpy army and everybody else kind of contributes to that. Why do I bother? He's very much having one of those. I ought to let the lot of you burn and take off. If only I could, I
He
would.
really does come across that way. I would agree.
Which I can't blame the Doctor.
No, not
Well,
really.
I read
after
somewhere.
everything he's gone through so far on Earth.
I read somewhere where the Doctor, in the novelization of this, it almost portrays the Doctor as going along with the Axos because he wants to take this material that they're promising in order to fix the TARDIS. And so
Oh.
he's got an ulterior motive
I never thought of
in
that.
going in and trying to,
I definitely got that impression when he's testing it. And why does it turn into soap bubbles? Well, this is the most powerful substance ever. But
Soap!
anything you do with it, it turns into bubbles.
But it doesn't. Isn't that the ruse that the Axonite doesn't really do what they're promising?
Well, yeah,
But still.
it still turns into soap bubbles.
Well, that's the best effect you can get in 1971 of something dissolving and becoming nothingness. But I don't know.
Yeah. But, no, I definitely got that impression when he was very adamant about, I'm going to hook this up to your equipment and do the Doctor had ulterior motives at that point for using it. But in the 4th segment, when he's like, let's get in the TARDIS with the Master and take off. And the Master's like, really? Okay. I mean, I'm
I
not questioning it. Let's go.
I like that bit.
I did
I
too.
did too,
But then,
yeah.
of course, because Pertwee had been
The Doctor's
so...
double cross.
Yeah.
Because he'd been so down through the whole thing.
You almost fall for
I
it.
did.
doubt.
I really doubted it
I
at
didn't.
the end.
I didn't, but
I didn't because...
that's unfair of me to say because the first time I watched it, I can't remember if I thought maybe the Doctor had ulterior motives, but this time certainly I was like, oh, well, I knew what was going to happen, but it didn't feel like as much of it. It felt like a ruse. I still felt like it was still the Doctor conniving in order for the better good. You know?
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry.
No, I thought that was really, really, really clever, and I liked how when they're sitting there and they're doing their whole bit. One of the best moments is the Doctor reaches in and pulls the little box out and disconnects something and looks at the Master, and Roger Delgado looks at him like, "What?" And he just nods and puts it in his pocket and walks off because now the ship doesn't go anywhere.
Right. He knows that he's got to
He's
keep the
just,
Master
you know,
from double-crossing him
Yeah.
because he knows that the Master would
I trust you
not
this
think
far
twice.
and
Yeah,
no further.
Exactly. That's exactly
And just
I love
I
that.
loved that bit. So that was cool.
There were some good elements to this episode. I don't want it, or the story. I don't want it to sound like I hated the entire thing. I think I just went in with too high of expectations of it.
Katie Manning's purple underwear.
Yeah.
Oh,
we,
yeah.
we can't get it. We can't get by without talking about the purple knickers. I had heard for so many years that there was a Pertwee Doctor Who episode that had a underwear shot in it. I had heard that for years and years and years and years, and I had no idea which one it was. And I saw this one. And I saw this on VHS. I saw this one. This wasn't one I brought from you, but I saw this one on VHS.
I don't think I own this
Yeah,
one.
no, you did not own this one. And I remember playing through it. I think I actually got this one from the library here when I
Wow.
first moved here. They had very few. They had like 3 or 4. But anyway, I remember
this was
watching that
one.
and going, "Was that it?" and rewinding and going, "That is! I've seen the knickers. I've seen the knicker episode. I've finally seen it." And so, yeah, I got to see Joe's knickers.
You know what's interesting to me? Having come on the heels of so many other ones that we've watched pretty consecutively, I don't know, like The Invasion. How many knicker shots did we get in that of the women going up and down
we never
ladders?
did.
and-
We always got cutaways from the women. We never saw the women. The one time we see Jamie twice upskirt, and it's very, very dark, and you don't make it.
I thought there was one on the ladder outside when they were climbing up to the helicopter.
You're
That was
thinking of
fairly
Jamie.
obvious. Nah, I'm
You're
pretty
thinking
sure
of
I
Jamie.
would
We never saw any of the girls.
I think
or
the
knickers.
black and
I keep
white-
calling them knickers because that's
They're
what they call
knickers.
them.
I think
That's what
the
they call
black
them
and
over
white
in-
makes it tougher to
That could
see
be.
the knickers,
That could
too, for those shots.
And wow, these are purple.
Yeah,
Very
very
purple.
clearly purple.
They very much match the outfit.
Oh, and if they weren't so purple, nobody probably would have noticed.
Yeah, probably not.
That's true.
It wouldn't have been a big
That's
deal
very
at all.
true.
But-
Yeah. But the fact that they stood out so much that, that's obviously not...
Who was it pointed out the soundtrack of this sounds very much like Nintendo music? Was it Chrissy that said that, or was that you?
It was either Chrissy or Sarah.
Somebody. The incidental music of this. Maybe it was Sarah. Yeah, the incidental music, and it didn't even strike me until somebody said it, and then it does. It sounds very 8-bit NES.
Contra.
Yeah, well,
I'm telling you, the guy.
maybe that's why it incites Contra in you. I don't know.
The guys at what's the studio that or the. Don't shake your head at me like you don't know.
I never had an original Nintendo.
Make me sad. Who did Contra?
Konami.
Konami.
Okay.
The guys at Konami watched this and went, "Yeah, we can make a game off of that." You know what this episode needs? More guns. Maybe one of those big spray things that does this. That'd be cool. We can knock out some Axonites with that.
I don't have anything else in my notes, guys. That's all I had, except for the Doctor lies, but we already talked on that.
Yeah.
The Doctor lies.
The Doctor
Always.
was.
River
So-
is vindicated.
Yeah.
So, overall, I thought it's a fine Doctor Who episode. It's not,
I wouldn't go fine.
I like it better.
It was okay.
I like it better than some Pertwees, and I like some Pertwees much better than this.
Yeah.
So.
So far, this is one of the weaker Pertwees
I
I've
will
seen.
agree. I will agree with you that of the Pertwees we've reviewed on the show, I think this is the weakest one we've done so far.
I still like... Something about Carnival of Monsters just hits me.
I would
episode.
agree.
Love that
I'm
episode.
going to go back to what Sean said about of the ones we reviewed on this show so far. This is the weakest. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Hopefully, we made it up with you with this one.
The Deadly Assassin Oh, man.
this one.
I'll probably own this one, because it was that good.
Oh,
I'll just skip episode 3. Gallifrey, planet of the Time Lords. The Doctor has finally come home, but not by choice. Summoned by a vision from the Matrix, he is drawn into a web of political intrigue and assassination. Nothing is quite what it seems, and in the shadows lurks his oldest and deadliest enemy. Da-na-na! This one deserves a da-na-na, because it is fantastic. Except for the 3rd episode.
Oh, wait a minute. Except for the 3rd episode.
I don't like the 3rd episode.
Why don't you like the
I
3rd episode?
loved everything going into them being in the Matrix and running around on the planet. Or in the Matrix. The two of them running and
You
fighting.
did like all of that.
I liked everything leading up to that.
Leading up to that.
I didn't like...
Once we're in the Matrix.
I
you don't like
did
that.
not like the Matrix stuff. I felt it dragged on way too long. And
I agree that it's lengthy.
that's
That's
I
my
asked
only
Sean,
problem
is this
with
going to
the
be
with
the
Matrix.
entire episode? And he's like, no. It was the
No,
entire
it was
episode.
the entire episode, yeah.
And I was so glad when we got back, because maybe because I haven't been really that introduced to Gallifrey before, but I was just eating up all of the politics and how everything was working. And pretty much the Doctor's companion in that episode.
The Doctor really is companionless in this episode.
But the one guy...
We've got the one guy that
acts-
serves as the quasi-companion,
He
but he's
acts
not
at-
even... But he's not... It's so limited.
It's
that
limited.
Because they're not interacting except for just certain times in the episode.
But
yeah,
he's the
kinda
one that goes along with the Doctor.
Yeah, he kind of sets
he
in as the
trusts Doctor,
quasi-companion. I would
And
agree.
I
What was
really
his name?
enjoyed that.
Gosh, I
didn't we
write
write
it
that down?
Everything to the assassination of how the Master made it look like the Doctor had done it. Everything, just so the Master can get a new body, I thought was fantastic. It was one of... It probably ranks really high up there on the Tom Baker stories I've seen so far.
Yeah.
It should.
Because it is that good.
What I like about this as a Master story is the Master is really puppeteering things from this point.
3 and 4 levels
This,
deep.
Yes,
this gives
very
me
much
the
so.
menacing Master that I've always imagined when I've heard the phrase, the Doctor and the Master.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think by this point, especially in the Master's timeline or in his life, the Master is more desperate than he's ever been before. The Master has run out of regeneration cycles.
And I think that's made him more creative and more clever than he
Yeah,
ever has
exactly.
before.
His
Castellan
body is
Spandrel.
Spandrel.
Sorry, I had to look it up.
His body is decaying to a point where, I mean, he is just completely mutated. I mean, he's
falling apart.
Yeah,
it looks like the anger and the Sith is holding them together.
yeah, that's exactly.
George Lucas stole that.
Lord Scion,
I'm convinced.
whoever BioWare would have stolen.
Yeah, because that would have been 1976 when this aired. So,
All knowledge comes from Doctor Who. I'm telling you.
I'm discovering this.
Desert planets, got that.
Rock quarry. Although it was a little weird watching a classic Doctor Who
Without a rock quarry.
until we got to the rock quarry and
That's
there it is.
We were talking about the length of the Matrix and how you felt that it was almost drawn out. I sort of agree that they spent a little too much time in the Matrix. I had to just actually stop, and I was literally rolling on the floor when you tweeted the Doctor's about to get run over by the Gage Park train. Because I never thought of it that way before, but it looks like a toy train.
It does. It really does.
And the only
It's
people
like this little
listening
This guy is like
that know anything about the Gage Park train are people that live in Topeka or people that have read Wizard in Class in the Gunslinger or the
Dark
Tower. What is it? Sectology?
Well, not anymore.
No, because they got another one coming out. But anyway, yeah, no, I thought that, and I thought, oh, yeah, it's really kind of lame now.
It's a miniature train that you could ride, and like the conductor might as well be sitting on top of it because it's so small.
You know what's funny is, and this is how time changes your perception of things. This has been one of my favorite episodes ever. From the moment I saw it. I loved everything about this as a kid. Especially that moment. That cliffhanger where his boot, which wasn't on the track, and then all of a sudden was between the rails and gets caught, which we'll forgive because the master's in control of everything. But he gets his foot caught in the thing, and he's, and it's painful. And then he looks up, and there's 4 trains, and everybody's there, and the guy's coming, woo, and around the corner, and it's rushing toward him, and then they cut to a cliffhanger.
And that's exactly what the train sounds like.
It did. Woo! It was a real high pitch. That was like the epitome of a Doctor Who cliffhanger. I mean, it was like, what happens now? I mean, you gotta... Wow.
I guess if I were younger, I would have same
I'm
sort of
telling you, man, at
reaction,
age 8, that was it. Watching it this time was like, wow, that's really kind of disappointing.
I thought that was the same way. I was in the exact same boat you were. He totally just destroyed my illusion when he said, the Doctor's about to get run over by the Gage Park train. I went, it really is. It's a toy train.
Which I feel like we need a little backstory. If you've ever seen a toy train, the Gage Park train is one of those that
it's really neat.
You probably could get run over by it, but I think you'd
stand up and walk away afterwards.
Yeah,
you would derail the train before it did any serious damage.
Much damage to you. Yes.
I could be wrong. I think we have to do we got to do history now. There's probably been deaths galore from people that didn't get off the tracks of this toy train.
Well, the only person that would call us out would be Phil, and he lives in the UK.
We're okay then. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's this tiny little kiddie chain that goes around the park, and I mean,
that's a good term
kitty
for
train.
it.
It's a kiddie train, and that's what this. Even before you said that, as soon as it came up, because I wasn't reading your tweets, I was enthralled in the episode. Like, yeah, here it comes.
Oh, is that it?
That was it. And then I read it and was like, yep. It just. I'd forgotten how much time they spent in the Matrix. You asked me, how much time do they spend in this thing? And I'm like, it's not very long.
Just an entire episode.
Just an entire episode. I mean, after all...
Some of another.
And some of another.
Yeah.
And how very...
To me, it could have been a 5-minute segment, and I would have been good with
I think it needed to be longer than 5, and I think that they did a good job of setting up several different scenarios where the Doctor had to get it. Now, I want to ask you guys about this, because this kind of intrigued me this time watching, because I never thought about it before, but everything in that Matrix segment where the Doctor's in peril every 2 seconds, all of that is very Earth-centric. Did you notice that? The train, the trees, the clown, the bandit. I mean, it's just
the clown
all
was really
very,
creepy.
very, very
The
Earth-centric.
clown was scary.
And I wondered, I don't know that this was the intention at the time. The airplane, yeah. The North by Northwest.
Well, and I mean, everything was World War II-ish. World War One. I mean, the guy with the gas mask and the
mid
donkey
to early
and
1900s.
I mean,
yeah.
it's all same time frame even, except for the clown. I can't account for that.
Yeah, no. My question is, well, did you guys get the impression and this is retconning because this wasn't mentioned until later that Earth is really one of the Doctor's favorite planets. Do you get the impression that the Master's orchestrating kind of all of this? He's pretty much manipulating the Matrix to put the Doctor in these situations. Is the Doctor is the Master using things that he knows that the Doctor loves, which is Earth, to put him in precarious situations in Earthbound settings, or is that the Doctor's subconscious, perhaps, aiding the Matrix in producing this surroundings around him, and it all happens to be Earth-like because that's one of his favorite planets, one of his favorite places to be.
And then the Master puts the perils based off what the Doctor has created.
The Doctor's kind of filling in the blanks, and the Master's manipulating.
And the Master
manipulates
manipulates
I'll take
those.
that.
Yeah.
I see it that way.
Okay.
But that's...
I kind of gathered that maybe that you could, again, suppose that that's the reason why
The only thing
happening.
I think that was truly alien was the whatever egg that he steps in.
Yes.
Because there's a screech that, I mean, maybe it's a bird, but
and I also got the
unless you go back far enough, and it could be
I got the impression
egg.
it was a dinosaur egg.
Yeah.
It's the impression I got.
That's
from
what I
it,
thought,
which is
too.
still Earth-centric. I mean, if you want to argue it, but
and it's a John Pertwee episode, so
no.
Yeah, the dinosaurs.
Well, yeah, the invasion.
The invasion of the dinosaur.
I thought you were saying, and this was a John Pertwee.
No, this was not a
this
John
was not fun. No, this was Tom Baker. How is this your favorite when you? No. Yes, you're right. That was Invasion of the Dinosaurs.
Invasion of the Dinosaurs by Robert Hume, Hulk something.
Holmes. Was it Robert Holmes?
I think it was Holmes. I'm not going to look it up, but
I believe that was Robert the Red.
I think it may have been.
Holmes
but-
wrote that.
We'll discover when we review that one.
Yeah, I was surprised, and really it was funny because we talked about this in the room a little bit, that this is just like The Matrix. I mean, they even call it The Matrix.
Matrix.
But this is, we plug into a computer and we create this I mean, how...
Credit where credit's due.
Credit where credit's due, 1976.
The Wachowski brothers owe Doctor Who a big thank you.
That might have been where they got it from.
Well, and then...
Aren't they British?
The one guy in one of the... no, I don't think they are. the one guy comments...
Actually, I think they're Czechoslovakian or Polish.
Wachowski? Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, if you go history, I mean, yeah.
The one guy comments in the special features that his daughter saw The Matrix and he went and watched it. And he was like, "Well, we did that on Doctor Who. When was that? It was a long time ago." I mean, they even comment, and it wasn't. It was funny because, like I said, we commented on it. It was like, I didn't make that connection when The Matrix came out. That I've already seen this movie. You know? But yet, watching Doctor Who, all of a sudden, I realized, oh wait, that's where I very strongly feel like that's where they got it from. Now, maybe they did it a little bit cooler than dinosaur eggs and
A toy train.
toy trains. But for me, what works, I mean, obviously as a kid, The Matrix was cool. For me, what works with this is the Gallifrey stuff.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
That's
The
Strong
politics and the background and history. And how much this episode is almost the Manchurian Candidate. I mean,
Very
it's
much.
really
Oh, yeah.
heavily influenced by that. You can tell.
The Gallifreyan candidate.
Yeah, I mean, it really parallels a lot of the similarities in that novel and that movie. So,
and
And you say it needed to be longer than 5 minutes. I could have gone completely without it. I mean, all it was an extended way to have the reveal of who was the other person he was fighting the entire time.
which you didn't see coming.
I did not see coming, so that was a nice payoff.
He the whole time was like, "How long does this go, man? How long does this go?" I'm like, "Okay, let me think." There's the egg, the train. I'd forgotten about the clown, so that was scary.
I think
and
he
then
blocked the clown.
drowning in the water.
Well, but see, I didn't even remember
that.
that. It was like there was a rock quarry. I think there was a grenade or a landmine or something that goes off. Okay, we're almost done. And then they get to the part where they inserted the other guy into the Matrix. I was like, oh, I forgot about the hunter. There's that whole segment where he's got to hunt him down. I was like, wow, I'm sorry, Keith, this goes on a lot longer than what I thought.
Yeah.
But then
The payoff.
I had even forgot when he pulled off the mask and everybody in the room was like, oh, it's that guy. I was like, yeah, you didn't see that coming, did you? And I'd forgotten. I really, it was
the
like...
payoff on it was great.
Oh, it was.
I just
It was
wish
so-
it didn't take so long to get to
To
the
get to
payoff.
that point.
Yeah.
Garth, or whatever his name was.
It is Garth, isn't it?
Is it Garth?
One of the ones that I wrote
Goth.
Goth, yes.
Chancellor Goth.
I was gonna say Garth. No, that's a little. That seems a little too.
His first name's Vincent.
Vincent Van Gogh. Boo!
Yeah, okay. But it's funny how much this episode establishes Gallifrey. I mean, there is so much lore that springs from this one episode.
so much pomp and so much dogma.
I mean,
in this one episode.
the funny headdresses, which I don't think we'd seen before. The
No,
term
in fact, in the,
panopticon.
In the last time that we saw a group of Time Lords was War Game, or no, not War Games. Yes, War Games.
War Games.
And they only had the robes. They just had like the black robe, or it was a white robe with like the black top. Kind of looks like a choir boy. Yeah, that's what it always reminded me of. Was a or altar boy outfit.
you never
That's what
know. It
always
could have been the
reminded
different
me of,
colors
but-
because it wasn't black.
It was
and
in
white.
black and white. Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, Rassilon, all of the
First mention of Rassilon.
The
This is
first
the
mention.
first time we get
Oh.
we get any mention of Rassilon. We've heard of Omega. This is the first mention of Rassilon. Now I do think it's interesting, and I didn't ever caught this, but the Doctor almost when Rassilon's mentioned, he almost is puzzled, like he doesn't know who Rassilon is. And I don't remember exactly what was said to him about it, but he questions it like, oh, who? I mean, which as time goes on, the Doctor really, it's almost like he knows the whole history of Rassilon and why. I mean, and Rassilon is set up to be more important as we go.
Yeah.
And so, but it was almost, I was taken aback a little bit. Now, granted, this was the first time they had introduced Rassilon in. They don't know where they're going to go with the character of Rassilon,
Yeah,
even though
they hadn't planned it out.
they didn't plan it out, or the history of Rassilon. So, I see why that happens, but you're almost taken aback when you go back and watch this after knowing some of the future of the Doctor and how Rassilon plays into the story from here on out. It's almost.
Should we
bit confusing.
go ahead and tackle the connections that the movie makes to this
I
episode?
want to talk about that because you both had said on Twitter, because I was tweeting from home because I wasn't able to turn out with you guys for this one, but I was watching and tweeting it along. You both said, or Keith said first, that this makes the movie make more sense. And I said, well, not really, because there's some conflicts that came up with this. And Sean says, well, I have to agree with him. So I want to know why you guys think this makes the movie make more sense.
Well, from the, it's the Eye of Rassilon, isn't it?
Eye of Harmony.
Eye of Harmony, yeah. The explanation of that, and then I guess maybe it was partially your guys' explanation that there are possibly multiple Eyes of Harmony in every single TARDIS.
Well,
that made me make that connection. The fact that the Doctor's run out of regenerations, and the movie picks up with that idea.
The Master.
The Master, that's what I meant. The Master ran out of regenerations. The movie picks up with that idea. I mean, just those, especially the Eye of Harmony, just connecting it for me.
There are a lot of threads.
What we saw was the main Eye of Harmony.
See, here's the problem I have with that is, you guys said it makes more sense, but there's been a lot of retconning, and I know Sean and I talked about how we've sort of assumed that the Eye of Harmony itself, the core, the thing that harnesses the black hole, or is basically what the Eye of Harmony is the object that keeps the black hole and the mass of the planet from conflicting with each other, is really all the Eye of Harmony is. It's how Omega and Rassilon harnessed the black hole in order to make time travel possible, in order to harness the keys of time, in order to harness time as an entity that they can control. So that's really all the Eye's purpose is for. So and obviously you have to have the staff of Rassilon and the sash of Rassilon, the rod of Rassilon, the sash of Rassilon.
The car keys of Rassilon.
Yeah, in order to open this thing. Well, and later on there's a key of Rassilon, but that'll be much further down the road.
The alarm code of Rassilon.
Yeah, you have to have these in order to unlock this. And the idea is that the Master believes that if he has these, that he can cause the Eye of Harmony to grant him basically another set of regeneration. Will jumpstart another set of regeneration cycles. And it's always been explained that the President is the only one that can essentially control, has access to the Eye of Harmony.
Which is why he gets the other guy to be
I'm going a long way around this, but Sean and I kind of put out there, and I think other people have put out there as well, that perhaps the Eye of Harmony that we see in the Doctor's... Now, this is retconning this, because maybe the Eye of Harmony we see is just a link to the Eye of Harmony that's actually...
You're talking about the fact that they call the Heart of the TARDIS in Doctor Who the movie, the fact that they reference it by the name, the Eye of Harmony, is kind of where the conflict is.
That's the big conflict. The other thing is, if I have to have the rod of Rassilon, the sash of Rassilon, and possibly a key to open the Eye of Harmony on Gallifrey, why does it just require a human retinal scan on the TARDIS in order to open it within the TARDIS and have that same sort of access?
Maybe as President, the Doctor takes the eye and moves it to the TARDIS.
See, well, that's again. Now, that's fine. It's fine for us to sit here and say, well, perhaps. But there's no solid. That's why they conflict, because there's no solid evidence. There's nowhere in between this point A and point B have they said this is what's happened. Now, I understand, and I know very little about the extended universe of Doctor Who, because I haven't read a lot of the books, I haven't read a lot of the source materials, or listened to even all of the Big Finish, although I've read some. They've made attempts to explain things that fill in the gaps, and I understand that. But if you look at it from a pure on-screen, there's a huge confliction there, which we can sit here and say, well, I suppose this could be, or I suppose this could be, but you see what I'm saying? It doesn't answer any questions for me in the movie, because to me they're two totally different things. The Eye of Harmony is said in the movie to be the heart of the TARDIS, the thing that powers the TARDIS. Now, that's fine to say, well, maybe there's a link, and that's why it powers the TARDIS, because there's a link from this black hole, which is what creates time, which, Omega and Rassilon, or Omega, as they say in the UK, and Rassilon have, figured out a way to harness the black holes, and they also have to have a way to power the TARDIS, so the TARDIS can travel through the time vortex. Yeah, I can sit there and explain all that and say, perhaps, or presuppose that that's why, but they conflict because I've never had concrete, solid evidence. Now, I'm hesitating to talk anything about the invasion of time because we get a little bit more of the Matrix, we get a little bit more of the Eye of Harmony, we get a little more of that in that, but even that doesn't satisfy some of the answers that we need for the movie. And that's the only reason I say is there's not an explanation because...
What was Glenn's quote a couple weeks ago that Chrissy praised him on?
Continuity. Yeah, whatever's your continuity. No, and that's what I'm saying. Yes. That's what I'm saying. But if you use established lore, things that have happened, whatever you...
What happened?
I could easily say, well, whatever I believe, I believe. No. It's whatever is established that you want to follow in the continuity. It still has to be there. I'm just saying these two conflict more than they answer anything.
What happened is the Master finally got a hold of the instruction manual on the TARDIS, and he read it and went, I could have done that. I had this whole scheme with taking over Gallifrey and destroying the planet and I could have just done it from within my own TARDIS.
That's the one thing that does.
Lost his TARDIS.
And he lost.
That's
his
the
TARDIS
one thing that does carry over is that the Master does believe that he can use the Eye of Harmony in Deadly Assassin to restart his regeneration cycles. In the movie, he's actually going to try to steal the Doctor's body.
Yeah.
And use his regenerations, his future regenerations, in order to survive.
And more than just the reference to the Eye of Harmony.
Now,
I think that part of the Master story.
But you'll find, and we left out some Master stories here between here and there, because the Master from that point on, is stealing bodies. He steals his next actual body from a
I assumed he
stole
his
the
body.
And then he takes another body from Eric Roberts' character. I can't remember his name in the movie. Bruce. He takes Bruce's body in that one. So.
Well, and I assumed he had stole the body for survival.
No, this is... Yes, I'm sorry. I thought you were going back to Deadly Assassin. No, that's the end of his body. But yeah, no, you're right.
So... Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, which we skipped over, and I'll tell we should address why we skipped Keeper of Traken. Because...
Yeah.
We feel that the Keeper of Traken is really the first part of a 3-part story arc that we want you to watch, because it's
order.
It's right, and it's the beginning of, or it's the end of the 4th into the beginning of the 5th, and that's we want you.
Oh, is that the New Beginnings box set?
Yes, and we want you to see
BBC
those
obviously
in 3.
feels it's a
so for the listener too that maybe thinks we skipped over, and Chrissy, I know we didn't do you any favors skipping over some 5th Doctor.
That's the other thing I wanted to mention is the 5th Doctors that we skipped over. The Master stories that are within the 5th Doctor's time frame, we took a look at, trying to decide should we do one of those. And we felt like early it was part of other stories, like the New Beginnings with the Keeper of Traken and Legopolis, or later
it becomes somebody else's. Well, it's another companion, and then later it's another Adversary Archive.
Yeah.
So we're trying to be careful to pick our episodes based on future archives that we might be doing as well.
We almost needed a Master one-off.
Yes,
and we couldn't really find one.
No.
Other than, I think maybe the King's Demons. I don't know, because that's Chameleon.
Yeah, so. Exactly. The problem we ran into is we have other companion arcs and Adversary Archives, companion archives.
I followed you.
And Adversary Archives that we need to kind of keep together, and so that's the reason why we got a big gap in the Doctor here, or in the Master here, and we may have done. We're hoping we gave a good sampling of the Master.
I think I got a good sampling.
Well, I look at it from the standpoint that you've got the 3 different actors now who have played the Master in this arc. We got Roger Delgado. We got...
Which is fantastic. I always enjoyed him.
Peter Pratt playing him as decayed Husk. And then you get Anthony Anley,
Anthony Anley did really good job,
I'm sorry. Now, this comes from my being a child of the Tom Baker era. Anthony Anley is my master.
Ainley's my master, too.
Is it Ainley?
Yeah. Ainley's my master, too, because, of Baker and Davison both. I mean, he was the master through that period. Well, even more so because then Colin Baker, when I got older and just recently, within the last 15, 20 years, got back into Doctor Who, I started picking up with Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy, and we had Alien both those eras.
Now, I think it was Pertwee who commented initially that we went to Academy together.
I think that's right.
They went to school together.
Yeah.
I think that's right.
And then...
Well, I think you mentioned that in
The
Terror.
Time Lord tells him that comes to warn me of the
I'm
Master.
kind of
An old
curious.
school show.
What happened that the Master used up his regenerations? If they went to school together, we assume
Essentially,
they're
could be
about
the same age. Sure.
The Doctor's on his 4th regeneration, and the Master is done. So either he's significantly older and went through them. And I don't know. We went to Academy together. Maybe that meant the Master was teaching at the time. I never got that impression.
No.
I could.
No.
But this just goes to show you, kids, don't try to rule the universe because you burn up a lot faster.
Which makes sense to me. I mean, he's a bad guy. I mean, he's a villain. He's going to run through bodies quicker than the good guy.
He put himself in harm's way, which is interesting, because that's not the Master's M.O. He's always behind the scenes pulling the strings. What happened that he went bam, bam, bam,
I think
bam,
that goes
and shoot
back to
up?
my...
I wonder how many the Doctor actually used.
He's
killed.
Well,
Eliminated.
he's tried to align himself with so many different...
Isn't that an interesting idea?
He's tried to align himself with so many other factions, so many other alien races, that... How many times has he double-crossed them and then it's come back to haunt him? We start the movie out with the fact that he's on trial on Skaro by the Daleks. I mean, they're clearly have beef with him, and that's probably for running off in Destiny of the Daleks, or whatever episode that was that they were in. It was, together. It's probably for him running off and abandoning him at that point.
There's one that needs retcon.
Yeah. Well, no, it doesn't work. Well, except for...
No, it doesn't work at all.
Well, except for...
There's nothing about it that
It
works.
does, because the Doctor jumps around in different timelines. Skaro could be there in a wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey sort of way. Yes, it still works.
I'll give you
I thought of that, too. In fact, when that opens with that, I went... Wait a minute, Skaro? Did they just say Skaro? But we won't go any further because we don't want to give too much.
We're not giving too much away.
This is your favorite episode, though. I just expected you more praise and joy.
I
we feel like we've been picking this thing apart.
Yeah, I do feel
and
like that too.
We shouldn't. Because it's a fantastic story.
Like I said, we get so much lore from Gallifrey and Rassilon and the ornamental, the sash and the key and all that stuff that comes from this. This is the first time we see Gallifrey, the Panopticon, how many of these terms that have just kind of filtered down through the years, and of course the big one with Regenegate, 13.
Yeah, this is the first time we established. That 13 is the rule of number of regenerations
that you get. I love the politics and the Time Lord. I love the fact that, and this sounds a little funny, I love the fact that Potomaker doesn't have a companion in this. The Doctor's kind of,
with the exception of our quasi.
Well, with Spandrel, but I like the fact that he's in it. One other bit that I didn't really realize, I have always in my head, I've never done it publicly, but I've always praised Doctor Who the movie for bringing the Infinity logo front and center.
The Seal of Rassilon is what they call it.
Within the TARDIS,
yes.
And how cool that is. And it wasn't until we went back and watched this that I went, oh! There it is.
Now we have to say something about the Seal of Rassilon, though. Is the Seal of Rassilon is technically first seen in what's the Baker Cyberman story? Is that Attack?
Revenge of the Cybermen.
Revenge, and it's actually a symbol in the what? I'm so ill prepared here. What is the name of the species that's on the planet where they're mining the gold or they have the gold? You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking
They've
about.
got the very plain mask look and the strange elongated faces. White hair, bald, most of them.
Yeah.
Okay, that species. I can't remember who they are, but those symbols are actually in. That started out as their symbol. Now this is like not within universe. This is, I think. Somebody thought that was cool, and then later thought that was cool and reused it, because it's all over. Because I remember seeing that recently for the first time and going, "Oh, wait a minute! What? That's the Seal of What's the Seal of Rassilon doing on this planet? That has nothing to do with Gallifrey." I don't know if that's ever been retconned or ever been fixed in any of the
Well, it's just one of those. Let's recycle.
Yes, but I agree. That was very cool to finally have that be the symbol of Gallifrey. It's the the Seal of Rassilon and move throughout.
Speaking of recycling. I really hate the fact that you had to point out in Claws of Axos, Axons, whatever it is,
Axos.
that the Axons, the Axonites, whatever they are,
The Axon.
the actual monster version of them, not the Oscar statues, but the monster version, was the Crinoid.
Oh yeah.
That as soon as you said that, because that's another.
Yeah, they
Seeds
reused
of Doom
it-
is
they
another of my
reused it for the Crinoid.
favorite. It's one of my favorite
It's repainted
episodes.
it.
And when you said, "Oh, it's a Crinoid," and I looked at it, now that's all I can see. Ah. And now when I go back to watch Seeds of Doom, I'm going to see those stupid guys running around there.
I'm sorry.
So and normally I enjoy things like that. I love watching Star Trek and picking out, that's the cloaking device. That's the episode where they use this. That's this. And so for you to do it, I don't know why it makes a difference, because normally I get into that. But it's just like, So,
He doesn't want anybody else to shatter his illusions.
yeah, don't shatter my illusions.
Well, let's move on. We still got two more
Yeah,
things to
okay.
talk about. We got survival and
We
swinging
could,
shelter.
I could go on and on and on about
that's the
Deadly
problem.
Assassin.
Is we
Deadly
love
is-
Deadly Assassin
yeah,
so
great.
much that
The Doctor takes Ace back to her hometown of Perivale, only to find that something is very, very wrong. Many of Ace's old friends and neighbors have disappeared while domestic pets become victims of unseen killers. Will the hunter become the hunted when only the fittest survive?
Da-da-da!
I'm not entirely sure this deserves a dun-dun-dun.
Oh, I got the impression after we watched it the other night that you were pretty okay with it.
I was okay with it. I don't know if it's done on a quality.
Oh, I think it's very done in a quality.
I mean,
Maybe
it's-
the description is just not in.
you know,
That's-
I made the
that's a-
comment.
that's a
I
poor
made the
description,
comment.
but-
I made the comment the other night that this episode or this story arc feels very disjointed,
Yeah.
and
It does.
and it's very sporadic, and it's almost like we're showing off the things we can do. We're showing off the costumes. We're showing off the cool effects. We're showing off the planets, the neat planets that we've come up with. We're showing off the action sequences. We're showing off the idea that we've created characters here that we should have developed more. You know what I mean? It just feels very disjointed. Now, that being said,
I
can
honestly
say
don't
that
understand
exact.
why the master was there.
I can say that exact same thing for a lot of Sylvester McCoy's era, and I think this is where Sean and I differ so much on the McCoy. I loved Seven as a Doctor. I always have. I like the way that he was, started out as the guy that juggled and played spoons and all that, and took a dark edge with the Doctor as his seasons progressed. But his stories are my least favorite because they never are fulfilling. Delta the Bannerman is the same way. It's like we've
And I like him as the Doctor.
let's throw a bunch of characters at you that we're going to try to set up, but we're not going to delve into them any. We're just going to have them there for filler, for disjointed story that kind of moves itself along too quickly. Maybe it's the fact that I'm used to 4-episode arcs, and then we get in McCoy's era we get a lot of 3 episodes. And
Which I'm
Not
honestly
a lot of
glad this
stuff
wasn't 4 episodes. I don't think there was enough story. For
I
4
disagree. I think,
I
with
think
the fourth
there
episode,
should have been a lot more
This
story
one
of this.
especially. I think you could fix Delta and the Bannerman with a 4th episode.
I agree with that as well.
This one definitely could have used a 4th
Yes.
to really develop more about why is the planet tearing itself apart?
Yes.
Why is the Master there?
Why
How
did the Master get
Okay,
stranded
yeah,
there?
that-
There's
that was
a
issue
lot
with-
of backstory you could have delved into that explained more of the goings on with this one.
Now, what I
in the
like
fourth
about
part.
this one goes back to the fact that we've got the Master using another race of aliens to
His advantage.
and I like that, and that's very much the Master. And again, this is Anthony Alien at his best.
Oh,
mean,
yeah, I
he is
really enjoyed his
so
performance
good
of the
here,
Master.
and he was right out of the gate as the Master. He was fantastic.
Well, I mean,
but he grew and made that part his own so much throughout his time as the Master. And this is really, he shines in this episode as far as I'm concerned. I love him. He is so devious and maniacal and just all the things that the Master should be at this
And
point.
conniving.
There you go. Very
Which in-
conniving.
And
And
megalomaniac.
Yeah. All of those good
And,
things.
yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
and McCoy, I see where Tennant and Matt Smith drew some inspiration from, like when as a cat, not a cat, so like just talking to himself and all of that stuff. I can totally see
Well.
that in his character, and so I really enjoy watching him. I had major issue with the first couple of episodes when Ace would call the doctor professor.
Which I'm surprised you didn't notice that in Delta and Venerman, because she did that in there too.
She was.
She
Oh
was
no,
there.
that's
was
right.
Mel.
It was Mel.
This is his first
your
Ace
first
story.
This is
Ace.
my
Okay,
first
never
Ace
mind.
story.
You're right.
And
Which again, we've had some. I think it was Phil.
Phil
that
brought up that there is
maybe we're doing a disservice to you again because Ace kind of has a
what's called it's been dubbed by fans as the Ace trilogy, and that being
Ghostlight and
Curse of
Fenric
and Survival.
And I yes, she goes home in this one, but I never really felt necessarily like this was part of that planned trilogy. But I guess it is.
And it's not planned. No, this was not planned. In fact, these were shot out of order. In fact, Curse of Fenric, I believe, is shot next in the series. And what they did is they shuffled them around.
Yeah.
But they really do, because the first one delves in her childhood, which is Ghostlight. The second story is more of her past, her mother's past, where she comes from. And then this one is more of where she's at
presently.
Sort of presently, because she's been removed from that situation. But yeah, her more present. Her friends, her home, where she comes from, who she is. And I agree that there's a
loose narrative.
Yeah, loose narrative there. But I didn't feel that it was necessary enough that we had to have, because
I don't think I missed anything from
if you
seeing
do
the
a
first
companion, yeah, no, I don't think so either. And doing a companion archive of Ace later down the road, we're going to start that one with, unfortunately, Sean, Dragonfire, because that's where we get introduced to Ace for the
once it gets released.
Yes, absolutely. Once it's out on DVD.
Once it's on DVD.
I don't know when we'll get there, but
yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
So that being said, that's why.
Ace has done that from the beginning.
I don't like that. He's the doctor. He's not a professor.
Well,
he's a doctor.
That's what I think. I
appreciate the title. He worked hard to get that doctorate.
No, he didn't. It was an honorary doctorate from somewhere.
I don't know if that's true either.
Yeah,
that's his name.
That's just his name.
She did it to annoy him. She did it to kind of poke the bear, and he tolerated it. He put up with it
at first. Later, I think he was more accepting of it. It was almost because it was part of her character.
It was just part of who she was. And he became very accepting of it.
And maybe if I had gone with the doctor and the irritation he felt, and then the gradual acceptance, I would be okay with it.
What I like about it is it makes
by the time I reached this.
Ace is such a different companion. The only person that I could ever compare Ace to companion-wise, similarities, is Sarah Jane. But Sarah Jane, as I said last week, Sarah Jane to me has always been a more mature version of Ace. Is that they're both headstrong, they're both willing to do what needs to be done, but Ace that's in her character. That's how she is, and Professor coming from her it makes more sense. I mean, it's something about Ace that makes her different than everybody else. I mean, she's got a different thing.
You get a little bit of it in this one where the military guy asked her, "Don't I know you?" "No, I don't think so." "Oh, that's right. The police let you off with a warning." I mean, she was a troublemaker. She hung out with the wrong crowd. She obviously
burned down a manor when she was a kid.
Yeah, I mean,
out loud.
she obviously had a checkered
You'll get more
childhood.
of that later, but
so for her, I think any authoritative figure, which the Doctor definitely is, she would automatically default to whatever the highest setting of authority that is, which would be Professor. That's kind of her, and if she ever met a lawyer, it would be Your Honor or something. I mean, that's just kind of how she's wired to do that. But this is also the kid, and again, you haven't got there yet, and I can't wait for you to get there. This is the kid who went and, tackled a Dalek with a baseball bat. Fearlessly. Had no problem doing it either.
Well, a good example of who she is when you see her arrive on the planet first, and she runs into her old friends, and she's already, okay, this is what we're going to do. We've got this clearing here. Can we do this? She's already setting up. She's a go-getter, diehard. I don't imagine any other companion would have just came into something and said, okay, this is what we've got to do. Maybe Rose, maybe Sarah Jane.
Ian.
Well, yeah. Ian perhaps, yeah.
Because we all love Ian.
Yeah. But, just gone in there and just said, okay, I've got a plan. This is what we're going to do. And that's because that's so much her character.
This is another instance of the Master, at his best, pulling the strings. Although he's stuck. He's pulling the strings as much as he can, which apparently are a creepy animatronic cat that
A Kittling?
Kittling that he's using to bring food to the planet to keep the other cheetah people occupied.
Right.
That's kind of the extent of what he can do.
Which I didn't quite understand. I mean, he pulled these people. Surely some of them had turned into cats before the one guy did, before Midge. Why didn't he grab one of them?
Had he not figured that out, or he needed somebody that has much of a will as him of survival. He had to bring the idea is the theme of he had to have somebody that had the will of survival enough that they wouldn't automatically just succumb and become one of these cheetah people. That they would have the willing or necessity to get home. That's the problem. Is I think he's brought people in as food, but none of them have had that basic instinct to go home. And that's what he had to have, was somebody that could go home so that he could get out of there. He could use them as a teleport to get back to the other side. Because it was easy to bring them through. It was impossible to get back without that key. Midge ends up being that person for him, and he recognizes that, figures it out. I think initially he would have used Ace because she was an even better candidate. It took her even longer to change.
Took longer, okay.
So after getting that connection with
her home would have been to the TARDIS.
Yeah.
That would have really helped him out.
Well, not to mention that anytime you brought people over for food, they were attacked and gobbled up, basically, except for the few that got out and you were survived. Yeah. So, but once you make that that was the idea too, is you had to make the connection with the cheetah people for the planet to start to change you. And so, if you got there and you ran away initially, none of those other people were changing, right? Because they had never really had that connection. They never came in contact with the cheetah people. It was Midge who kills the one, and it's Ace who befriends the one or helps the one.
Well, and I think we suffered from a little bit of an audio. I had trouble. I know I'm old, but I had trouble hearing the first episode of this.
Part of that's because you all kept talking, but.
Well, we did do that. There's a line that the Master, at the beginning of the second episode, where he's kind of sort of beginning to explain things, that the cheetah people once had a great civilization, that they built these ruins, they had built this, they had built all this stuff, and
they
the
had learned how
planet
to
corrupted
harness
them.
Well, they had learned, or they were learning how to harness the power, or recognizing that the planet had a power.
Yeah.
And the planet ends up corrupting them because of that, is the impression I got, was that it starts to change them because it's the power of Tower of Babel, building the Tower to God. You smite them with different languages because you don't want them to build that tower. I got the impression the planet was the same way. It started to change them because they started getting too close
and they became
entity.
very feral and animalistic and brought out those qualities, which is kind of where everything else happened from there. And I love the fact that this is a Master episode. You could have thrown any other villain in there on this planet as the puppeteer, and it would have worked. But the fact that it is the Master, who does have the strong survival instinct, and who does. I mean, he is... We joked about it, that he's not a nice guy, but he is very much in his element. Mm-hmm. And the changes that the planet's making to him are kind of like...
That's fitting.
It's fitting. It's more of the same for his character.
Mm-hmm.
It's really bringing out more of the... And when he does get back with Midge...
It's Midge.
Why? Why is it Midge?
I don't know.
We thought for sure it was Mitch with an M-I-T-C-H,
when
and then we looked it up and it was
I
Midge.
just think that 70s show.
Yeah. Midge is a woman's name. But when they get back to... when he gets
Here's Phil typing away. Actually, in the United Kingdom, Midge is a man, a very masculine name. No, I'm sorry, I'm just kidding.
But when he gets back to Earth, and he's looking in the mirror, and his eyes are still yellow, and he's got the teeth... I mean, just chills with the way Amy plays it.
It was a very good portrayal.
But I love that... I kind of wish that they had... We watched the documentary afterwards, and the original title of this was Cat Flap. And they had expressed some concern that after doing a show called Greatest Show in the Galaxy, that everybody was going to hate something if they'd called it Cat Flap. But the more they talked about it, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, that so works.
It does work. Now, I'll tell you, looking at it or on the surface, I would have done the same thing. Like, Cat Flap? That just sounds cheesy. Now knowing what the idea of the Cat Flap was,
the backstory
you have to have the backstory.
Yeah.
It totally...
and the Doctor even says that, when is a cat not a cat? When it builds its own cat flap. But... there's a lot of elements to this one that I really like. Now I have to be honest, because Chrissy had mentioned this was her first time watching it. This was your first time watching it, obviously.
Of course.
You'd seen it before.
Parts. This is my first.
really?
This is my first time completely through.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I had some bits and pieces of this.
I'm in the
particular
same
episode.
boat then, because I watched this, the first time I'd seen it was on VHS. I was working at Hollywood Video, pulling yet another in a long string of overnights. And it was just me, and so I rummaged through the Doctor Who's and was just popping them in one after another, and some of them I'd seen, some of them I hadn't. So I'd seen it, but I'd seen it in that video store way that we have some experience with, which is where you catch bits and pieces of it, but you can't really pay attention to it.
Yeah.
So this was my first time to actually sit down and devote, which is why I didn't tweet much, a large chunk of attention to it. And I'm very, very happy with this episode. I really liked this.
It's
from
got
a lot
some
of
great
standpoints.
costumes.
It's got great
the
moments.
costumes!
It's pieces of a great episode that the underlying story is just too quick. It's just it really
It's too quick
suffers
and too
from
subtle.
being
They
too
don't pull it out
just
enough.
from being too short. And that's my only problem with it is that the underlying story does not. It moves along too quickly,
And that I
it
would
feels
agree
like
with.
it leaves things out. And I just needed one more episode to kind of flesh things out a little better, make that story feel less disjointed and less rushed.
That I would agree with. We talk about the bad costumes and makeup and something, the monsters on Doctor Who. Cheetah people were awesome.
I loved the
They
cheetah
were
people.
great,
Amazing
especially
though.
for the time period.
Amazing though that then we watched the documentary and they said, "Well, that's totally not what we were going for. We didn't want those costumes. We wanted just subtle fingernails and maybe some discoloration of the skin and spots and obviously the
contacts.
Contacts.
And I thought they went above and beyond to get you a great costume.
I'm sorry.
I love the cheetah. That they look
cheetah
fantastic.
people rocked.
Now,
They
you,
were so
You guys had a
cool.
lot of problems with the fact that they didn't have tails.
The
okay,
tails.
I
it's
did
a
not have
planet.
problems at all with
It's
the,
a planet, and when I say problems, I say Keith,
and
Mel,
Sarah.
and Sarah.
More
They
Sarah
did
and
not.
Mel.
They did
I
not.
was just
They did
kind
not
of
have
whatever.
tails.
It's
That's
the
fine. This is a
anthropomorphic.
planet of cheetah people. This isn't cheetahs from Earth.
I'm pretty sure I saw tails underneath the kilts.
I got by the fact that they all howled like dogs or sounded like dinosaurs instead of meowing like cats or making screeching sounds like cats would or tigers or cheetahs would, but I didn't let that bother me. So it's Doctor Who. They're another species, and I didn't. You brought the fact. Oh, here's another human. Or not human. Here's another earthbound animal that's been created. Oh yeah, okay, Sean. Another earthbound animal. Now that was back in classic Who when we had a plethora of
a
imaginative and a variety of different thought-provoking aliens, and this was one of the few that was actually Earth-like, and so I didn't have a problem with that.
I tweeted this and nobody really responded. Do you think that the Russell T Davies looked to this episode for inspiration for the Cat Nuns?
I remember you saying that. I don't know.
Or
Maybe.
but especially
It might have been in the back of his head.
especially in Gridlock with the cat guy. Almost had more
But see,
of a cheetah feel
that's
to him.
true, but Gridlock spawns from New Earth, so
Well, yeah.
he had to have had that planet
Idea.
sooner than that. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. That might be where we're going from there. Maybe that's where he kind of... Maybe in the back of his
I think
head.
they're ancestors.
Perhaps.
Lisa Bowerman, who played the main cheetah, Kara. Did anybody else get a Silurian vibe off of her performance? And New Who, I'm specifically talking.
Well, now
of,
you're going back and you're doing that to Wibbly.
You're right. I'm doing it the wrong way. Just watching them reversed. This reminded me of the Silurian in Hungry Earth, Cold Blood. What's her name?
Injured
Kira.
or the
Wasn't it Kira too?
Well, Lisa, whatever her name was.
Oh wait, the one that got injured,
Both.
or the one? Oh,
the sisters.
okay.
well, it's the same actress. For,
Yeah, but-
for the
I
sisters.
just got a lot of the same
no,
kind
no.
of performance.
Are you sure?
It's the same actress for Madame
Okay,
Vasser.
no, I knew that Madame Vasser was the same as the one that was below the surface, but I thought that was two totally
muted
different
you.
actresses for.
No, I'm pretty sure
it's
it's
the same actress
for
all
playing,
three.
playing the sisters.
Well, that would be a lot less makeup work. Although she had a different.
She had a
like,
scar.
color.
She
Yeah.
had a different
Well,
color,
she even had different
colorization.
coloring too.
Yeah.
Yeah, over the scar, I suppose.
I think they were going more for the voice similarities.
Wow,
for
I thought they were
sisters.
I thought they were two totally different.
Anyway, did anybody
Yeah.
else pick
No,
up on
not
that?
at all.
Not at all.
No, not one.
It just, that's what she reminded me of. That it was like it's very much
never
like
thought that either.
I don't know. I just almost like this was kind of in that same vein of very proud, very epic potential story villains that didn't quite.
Well, that's
get
and
there
that's
in this
why.
one, but-
Yeah, maybe that's why.
Alayla
Thank you.
Layla, Yeah,
and Reestak.
and they were the same actress.
Same actress.
I'll be darned. I did not know that.
Nev McIntosh.
Who might be getting her own show?
Yeah,
the rumors are correct.
according to Stephen Moffat's wishes, except for not. Well,
I don't know.
not much more we can say about this episode. We got to rush
Well,
on because we still got Scream in the Shop.
Should we discuss the last words of Classic?
We could talk about that a little bit.
I thought it was a very nice ending.
It was,
and,
and
we watched the behind the scenes of how they had to go back and add that in, and I
what
thought that was nice.
What I like about that is we didn't. You so easily could have saw the writing on the wall, and said, "Doctor Who's about to end. We have to do something to give it closure." And you could have easily went in there and wrote something that ended it, but the speech that is written there is very encouraging, and we're not, this isn't the end for us. This may be the end for television. This may be the end for Doctor Who on TV, but Doctor Who will continue on because we're going off, and there's still adventures to be had, and there's still things going on other places, and Ace, we've got a job to do, and it's that was written so well in the sense that it puts closure on the entire run of the series. But it also leaves it open to, hey, someday we may be back.
Yeah.
And someday it did come back.
Which, and I thought, I thought it was a very great ending, and seeing the behind the scenes stuff and how they, like you said, they shot this one out of order and then had to go back in, and they wanted to put something in there because they found out shortly before the last episode aired that it was going to be the end. So even when they shot it, they didn't know that.
Right, they did not know.
So,
and it's interesting because it was perfectly set so that they turn their backs and start to walk away, because that's clearly dubbed over by McCoy.
Yeah.
Which
And he even points at the sky when he says "out there," somewhere out there. I mean, it was like
it was
almost
so well
like
done.
it was just planned.
Yeah.
The to this end, script editor Andrew Cartmel wrote a short melancholic closing monologue for actor Sylvester McCoy, which McCoy recorded on 23 November 1989.
Ironically, the 26th anniversary of the show.
Show's 26th anniversary. And the ending quote is, "There are worlds out there where the sky is burning, and the sea's asleep, and the rivers dream. People made of smoke, and the cities made of song. Somewhere there's danger, somewhere there's injustice, and somewhere else the tea's getting cold. Come on, Ace, we've got work to do."
Which is funny because you said somewhere people are made out of smoke. I thought you'd perk right up, Keith, and go, "Oh, Smoke Monster! It's lost! It's a lost reference!"
That's where they got the idea for Smokey!
The Doctor Who production office at the BBC have finally closed down in August 1990, having been in continuous operation since 1963.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a bummer.
That is kind of a bummer.
And it resurfaced again as Doctor Who the movie. And
Yeah.
then, prior to
In 2003,
2003, well, no, prior to 2005 series return, we got
2003,
a few webisodes. The first not being the one we're about to review. We actually got I should have wrote these down. We actually got a Sylvester McCoy that was called, had something to do with time, the end of time, time after time, no.
Program achievable, Master.
I don't know.
I have no idea. He didn't look that
I
up.
haven't seen it.
It's okay. All right. Anyway, Sylvester McCoy. We also got a webisode that I believe had the Sixth Doctor and Evelyn Smythe, and we got a webisode with Shada, and then one of the webisodes that was in that vein there as well was Scream in the Shalka.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The TARDIS materializes in the village of Lannet in Lancashire,
Death Comes to Time. That was McCoy's. Sorry.
disgorging an annoyed Doctor who has apparently been transported here against his will. He discovers the village is silent, Its inhabitants are all living in fear except for a barmaid, Allison Cheney. An alien race calling themselves the Shalka have taken up residence beneath the planets in preparation for a wider invasion. Despite his initial reluctance to get involved, the Doctor finds himself having to save the world again, aided by Allison and an old enemy who has become an ally.
Da-na-na! Uh-oh.
Allison Cheney, by the way, Liz 10.
Really?
In the new series.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought she sounded familiar.
Yeah.
It wasn't me, because you've listened to some Paul McGann. I don't think you have.
I've listened to a few, but early on,
But
Paul McGann.
okay, then those are probably the same ones I've listened to. Didn't Richard E. Grant's Doctor sound a lot like Paul McGann's Doctor? I thought audibly they sounded very similar.
There are moments where he did. Even Mel commented on that. He says, he almost sounds like Paul McGann.
Yeah, it was like
Maybe so.
Richard
I
E.
don't
Grant
know.
was channeling the movie version of the Doctor to play his
Character-wise, he was not.
role. No,
Very much
well,
different Doctor.
There has
Come
been
before.
moments in what I've heard, even character-wise, it's somewhat similar.
For
McGann, from what I've heard.
of
The Big Finish audio.
sounding like
I'm going to take your word for it because I
well,
never heard it.
there were just moments
I've
in it-
listened to some Paul
you're
McGann.
just saying that you think Paul McGann sounds like Richard E. Grant and Richard E. Grant sounds like Paul McGann.
Well, and there were moments in the episode where the characters were very similar too.
Oh, I don't. Of the ones
I
that
don't
I've
think
listened
so,
to, I don't
no.
get that.
And some of the ones I've listened to,
The
some of
Shalka
them,
Doctor seems more disconnected than Paul McGann did. The Shalka Doctor seems more almost cold.
He's a grumpy
almost,
bear.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
he's
that's
very
what it
angry.
is. Whereas I never get that from McGann. McGann always felt like the warm Doctor, the one that
See,
you can warm up to and become very, very buddy and friendly. And he seemed like one that you could always get along with real easily, no matter who you were.
there was one specifically. I think it was Minuet in Hell.
Well, but he goes through that whole
He
where
wasn't
he's
in
not
it.
himself.
He wasn't
either.
in it
Yeah.
the entire time,
Right.
but once he does get back to being himself, he's kind of like, "You guys are just idiots, and I'm going to deal with this."
Well, yeah.
Which-
I
But
think-
I kind of got that
but
feeling.
Pertwee had that. Pertwee
Well, yeah,
had,
there's that too.
Tom Baker had that. Tom Baker. Harry Sullivan is an idiot. I mean, they've all kind of had that superiority complex going on where they're not above.
Colin Baker too, which you haven't gotten.
Colin Baker very
Colin
much.
Baker,
but I mean, all of the Doctors have kind of been in that. I'm better than you, and I'm not afraid to call it out if the situation calls for it.
I would agree. I would agree with Sean. What'd you guys think of this? I mean,
It was pretty good.
okay, let me put you in the mindset because I have to put myself in the mindset when I go to this. This was effectively the 9th Doctor. I mean,
yeah.
we had webisodes come out before, but they were already pre-established Doctors. This would have been the 9th Doctor. Had this been able to go on before it was announced that we'd have a 9th Doctor on TV, this would have been how we would have enjoyed Doctor Who in the next incarnation.
I don't like the way it was presented. I think, okay, if they would have released it in the individual parts, they should have, after they were all released, gone back and just put them all together in one video so you could just watch it all at once.
Yeah, note
Or
to
watch it
BBC
in parts.
Online. Your episodic play all button doesn't work.
Yeah, I was really... until you got to the later episodes, I didn't have a problem
Well, some
with
of them it played through all of them, and some of them it would play the first two and then stop, and you'd have to go back in and hit the third one.
Yeah,
it
I
drove
didn't
me
watch them online,
nuts.
So watching it online was really annoying.
That was
but
very
I did like
very
the
frustrating.
animation. The animation I thought was really
Cos-
nice.
By the way,
Cosgrove Hall.
Cosgrove Hall. This was their first endeavor. In fact, this was their only endeavor besides Invasion, and of course, which we're going to watch next week, Infinite Quest.
Infinite Quest.
I didn't know this. They didn't do the other webisodes. Those were done by Flash Animation, very stoic, a different animation studio. This was their first endeavor into Doctor Who, and I didn't realize that until I was doing some research on the Shalka Doctor. But yeah, Cosgrove Hall, Invasion.
Which
and, as we'll
yeah,
see soon.
the animation was great in it.
It's fantastic.
Mindset.
I love this. I just love this Doctor. I love this idea and where we could have gone
Of the Grumpy Bear Doctor?
Of the Grumpy Bear Doctor. Yeah, I think it's great.
Forget the Shalka Doctor.
He's
the
no
Grumpy Bear
longer the
Doctor.
Shalka
It's
Doctor.
the Dark Doctor. This is
Oh.
the Doctor that has a dark side to him. That has a dark element. More so than actual 9 and 10 and 11 have ever shown to me. It's the Doctor that almost was going. What just really wanted he wanted nothing to do with this area of London that is basically being run by the Shalka.
Yeah.
He wants nothing to do with it. He's forced, essentially, by we gather the Time Lords. He's forced onto...
Or the TARDIS.
Or the TARDIS. Yeah, that was my first... I'm glad you said that, because I've read a lot of people say, well, it's the Time Lords that kind of put him there. It's almost the TARDIS that pushes him out the door. And
because the TARDIS shuts down.
he reluctantly goes into this. He reluctantly works with the army.
Unit.
Yeah, it is Unit in there. It is Unit.
Is it?
Yeah,
I thought
he,
it was
he
somebody
reluctantly
That's Unit.
works with Unit there. He so begrudgingly does all this, but really makes a connection with the what's the
Allison.
Allison makes a connection with Allison right away, and that's what I like about it is you see a glimmer of the Doctor you know, in the sense that he feels compelled to help this companion.
Which, in the Master Droid...
The number one thing I love about this Shalka Doctor
makes a
is
reference.
that concept of the android master. But go ahead.
The Master Droid makes a reference
Master Droid.
to... It almost seems like the reason he is this way is... Maybe the Time War's over,
See?
or whatever.
Yeah,
But
wait, no,
No,
stop,
I'm
stop.
just
There's
making
no
this-
time war because this is
understand that.
pre-established time war.
We understand that.
We understand that. I'm
that
just
is us
saying.
pre-associating what has come later with
That's
what has
why
come before.
I had
There
to put my
is-
because I saw this after I saw the Ninth Doctor on screen before all that was established for me. But that's why I had to go in and put my mindset. Okay, this is right after the movie. Now there may have been some Paul McGann audio there, but this is right
Regardless.
after the movie.
he's gone through something
Yeah, something has changed
without a companion, and hasn't had a companion for a long time.
Maybe something happened to a companion.
Maybe.
And
Could
that's
be.
why
And-
the Master is an android.
Yeah, and that is why he is the way he is because he doesn't have that spark of humanity with
I would
him
agree with
constantly.
that. I would agree with that.
And that's where
But I can't-
Allison,
you
when
can't
it came in...
pinpoint the time
okay,
war.
I was just pulling something random as
Yeah.
a citing
Right.
reference.
You're doing
I-
what
I-
Jennings accused
Yeah.
you of.
I still think it works. If we take into the concept of the galaxy is going to flow a certain way and you can change certain things, but maybe you can't change the really big things, maybe there would have been a time war eventually anyway. It's been established in the new series that there was. Maybe this Doctor would have had one as well.
And maybe we would have actually seen that
And,
play
in,
out.
and it,
Maybe
to
it
be
would've
quite
just played
honest,
out
in my
differently.
continuity, when I think through this, I prefer to believe that it was the 8th Doctor that was involved in the Time War,
I
not
agree.
the 9th Doctor.
Yeah, I agree.
So that does work in this sense that you guys are setting forth. But if you'd have watched this episode at the time, you never would have heard of the Time War.
Well, no,
No,
that's very
no,
true.
no.
And I didn't think
That's
the
why I don't
time-
think it gives that impression that it was the Time War. But yes, something
No,
very
we're
dark has
totally
happened.
filling in
Something
blanks
has
now.
changed.
I honestly, when I was watching it, didn't think the Time War. I just thought, okay, he's been without a companion for a little too long.
Here's how I reversed this, because I used some influence from later, but I thought it was the loss of the Master. The Master finally being pulled into the Eye of Harmony that made him dark, and that's almost why he creates the droid Master, because he's gone so long with the Master being his adversary. There's also been some mention that there's a possibility that the two were brothers. That's always been out there, and that's where I'm kind of reverse. Sean knows where I'm going with that, but
Wibbly
anyway,
wobbly,
yeah,
tabbly wobbly.
that's where I'm. Well, I'm. You said it best when you said by using the Time War as your reference, you're going backwards and you're going. But anyway, that's why I'm also doing that.
You're
this way,
jumping
but,
forward.
Yeah, but because maybe their relationship was something that now the Master's completely gone, so he starts to go into this dark place where he did by destroying the all along he's going to I'm going to destroy the Master. I've got to destroy the Master. I've got to destroy the Master. You notice he never does destroy the Master until it's really perceived that he does in the movie. And
let's chalk up another win for Paul McGann.
yeah, so it's almost like that's what kind of got turning, and that's why in desperation he builds this android, because he needs that companionship. He needs somebody to bounce off of. He needs a Moriarty to his Sherlock Holmes, and that's why he creates this android. And the other impression I got, and Sean and I talked a little bit of this beforehand, but I also get the impression that that was a way to resurrect the Doctor, not just in the idea, or the Master, not just in the idea of having a Master but because the Master he almost talks as though he's connected to the TARDIS.
Yeah.
It's almost like the Master's essence is channeled into the android, and that's how he survives. That's how he has cheated death in this. I mean, he doesn't cheat death, because the Doctor obviously brings him back.
But he does say to Allison or the Shalka, one of the two, that I guess he's by himself. He says, why didn't I allow him? Why did I accept his offer? Why didn't I allow myself to be killed slowly? Or
he says that when the Shalka's in there trying to get the Master to unveil or do whatever they were trying to get him to do with the TARDIS. He was trying to.
They're trying to get the shield down.
Yeah, that's right.
Which leads me to believe that maybe the Eye of Harmony is a Sarlacc pit, and he would have been digested slowly over 1,000 years. But I got the impression that it was definitely the Master, but he has now been imprisoned, encased in
supplanted in a way,
this android body that can't leave the ship.
Right.
Oh, well, aside from not being able to leave the ship, wouldn't that be a superior way than going through regenerations and worrying about having to run out of them?
Well, yes, but is it worth being trapped, though? Yeah, no, I think you're right.
In the Master's mind, though, it's just another body.
Right.
He would still be upset over that. His ultimate goal is still another life of my own.
Oh, that's true.
And the android body's not going to quite cut it. I wouldn't think. But I really liked it. I liked the Doctor being a grumpy bear. I thought that was a fun way to take it, a little differently. There were elements of it that I thought, I'm not a big fan of that. He was
a little too.
He was very adamant about not getting involved and not going through this and not putting up with humanity. And I've washed my hands of you. I am done with this. Mm-hmm. We weren't sure at the beginning who he was talking to when he's shouting, I won't do it, you've taken me to the wrong place.
Yes.
Is it the Time Lords that he's talking to who have interfered? Is he talking to the TARDIS itself?
Is he talking to the Master?
Is he talking to the Master?
Yeah, that was another thing that went through my head later when we're finally introduced to the fact that he's got the Master droids.
I liked the just the concept, and I mentioned this to you earlier, the fact that he would be at that place where he is either lonely or vulnerable or whatever, that he would feel the need to create a Master. What a powerful character moment that could have been developed so much more. I'd like to see that happen. I would like to see them bring the Master back in some way in that manner in the current series.
It's funny that you say that, yeah.
I don't think it would work with the Doctors they've established. Matt Smith's Doctor wouldn't do that.
No, it wouldn't work.
But wow, how cool would that be?
It's strange that you don't want to see the Time War, because number one, it would to make it really impactful, it would just take a lot that you couldn't do on television.
Yeah.
I think the same idea with whatever has happened between here and there. Why is he so lonely? Why has he come to a point in desperation that he's created a Master? And that's something I don't want to see either. That's something that I want to be a mystery and explored as they have with the Time War, explored through the continuation
little back
of the
story
series.
droplets and things like that.
And maybe discover why that has happened over.
I would love to see the forward interactions between the Doctor and the Master with those little hints of what has come before. I don't want them to go back and explain it.
Yeah.
If they ever did a webisode in the Shalka Doctor's era where they came out and said, a companion got killed, whatever they came up with,
it would be disappointing.
It would be a letdown.
Yeah.
It would be like, you can't possibly, just by throwing it out there, this may be what has happened.
Right.
That's enough to keep me going with going forward. I don't need the backstory.
Yeah.
But I love the concept that he is so bent that he would resurrect his arch nemesis, and the portrayal was spot on Master.
You know who the voice was, right?
I do know who the voice was. Derek Jacobi, who I love, is a great actor.
Fantastic actor.
the not just the voice inclinations, but the little, and they did this all with animation, which I think is even more impressive. The fact that it looks like the Master, which is cool, but when they have those little glances back and forth, when the Doctor shows back up after surviving the black hole, and the Master's been all kinds of like, yeah, I was waiting for you to get back. Not really.
Yeah. Well, first quite surprised.
Yes.
And then,
you're alive.
yeah, no, I was. I
was not in
waiting
any
for
way,
you.
shape, or form about to steal your car keys
Right.
and get into the cookie jar. That wasn't going to happen.
No.
And everything they did, the little glances back and forth, the frustration that he felt, it was so subtle that it was awesome. It just
And it
worked.
works as an animation. That's
Yeah,
what the
yeah.
brilliance of this is that you get all of that. Not just based on the voice acting, but also the portrayal
The animation,
visually.
yeah.
The animation does such a nice job of
Now,
that.
Billy pointed out, he said, how come the phone's not the same? And I couldn't remember...
Yeah, when did that become a cell phone?
Well, I couldn't remember until Empty Child, when Moffat... That we actually saw the TARDIS phone. We'd seen police box phones,
Right.
which were big, clunky... But I don't think until that door opened in Empty Child, we'd ever seen the inside of it.
Right, I think you're right.
So the fact that they made his cell phone, I thought was kind of cool. And it wasn't until, I don't know, episode 6 or something when he pulled it out and had the dude...
when he's falling into the
Even
black hole?
after that, it was when he gave it to the guy to call Allison's mother.
Oh yeah,
That
that's
he
right.
hands the phone to him, and I'm like, the phone looks like the TARDIS. It's a blue thing with a bar across the top and a little light on. I mean, it looks. I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well,
things you can do in animation and just put it in there. You know?
just. I mean,
you mentioned that the frustration and how much the Doctor didn't want to take part in helping humanity. For me, it doesn't seem. It seemed like he turned around too quickly on it. It wasn't as gradual of a turn back
I
as
see
it
what
should have been.
I see what you're saying, and I think
For as adamant as he was about not helping.
you're right. But I think what you run into there is the length of episodes,
Yeah.
how much time we have to get there, A to B, and that's why Survival feels so disjointed, because we're going in 3 episodes. It could have been 4. This easily, I think, could have been more webisode episodes as well. But they had so much time to do it.
I liked the Shalka being not just a snake worm-like villain.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
liked
me
the
too.
and Sonic. Okay, they're Sonic. The Scream is Sonic. The bad guys are Sonic. The bad guys are using urban things to become Sonic, and I kept waiting for it. Where's the screwdriver?
And he uses it once.
We're gonna come out of this thing, and he's gonna put that up against the thing, and go what? And everybody's head's gonna explode, and I'll be like, yay, a proper use of the screwdriver. Not in there.
No. And Keith's right. He used it the one
He used
time.
it the one time on the phone.
Which it was neat seeing him use it on the phone to
What's a
materialize
cool
the
idea.
door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know who wrote this?
Did
Did you happen to recognize
Paul
them?
Cornell?
Paul Cornell.
Paul Cornell wrote
who
this.
just wrote.
The two-parter.
The two-parter.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So how about that for a little?
I think that was planned.
Did either of you get a chance to?
No, it wasn't actually.
Did either of you get a chance to read
I
Beast of the Stone?
did not.
I suggest you do now that you've seen Scream the Shalka go on, because it's the only continuation of the Shalka Doctor you'll ever get, and it's a fantastic story. It's kind of a space vampires story.
Is Allison in it?
Allison is in it.
Oh,
She's
now see,
gonna-
that's cool,
yeah,
'cause I loved Allison as in it.
Allison went off with him as a companion. The Master's in it again. Our Master Droid is there. It's all there. In fact. No, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to say anything. But yes, the Master
I'll
Droid
have to
is
go
there,
read it
and
then.
it's a phenomenal little short story. Just real quick, take no time at all to read, but it's fantastic. Links on the in last week's show notes. So
Yeah, I'll have to go.
I'll
read
have
it.
to-
Definitely. I really just so much potential for what could have been, and I
want more.
really
I so want more.
I really wish Russell T Davies had gone ahead and acknowledged the validity of the Richard E. Grant Shalka Doctor and made Eccleston the 10th incarnation.
Yes, because then we could have had
Official story.
we could have had an
quote-unquote
expansion
official.
of that timeline of that era and be able to work with that a little bit. And Richard E. Grant said in an interview I saw somewhere he would have loved to have been the Doctor. In fact, he loved the fact that he got to play an incarnation of the Doctor in Curse of Fatal Death. He's the second incarnation of the Doctor that we get after Rowan Atkinson. So he would have been 10 in that one. So, but interesting how it's It's particular.
It's
How we
everything
keep
keeps cycling back
everything,
through
we
there
get
with-
same actors and same. We got Liz Tan. We got Richard E. Grant.
There's a lot of
Oh, yeah.
tie-ins with this that I wasn't even aware of until going back and doing a little bit of research and going, oh wow, so and so's in it, so and so's in it. I mean, look at the pedigree
Yeah.
that this thing had, and all of the stuff that.
Well, Anthony Stewart Head did a voice in, not this one, in the Death Comes to Time as well.
Oh,
which
really?
I had realized. When
Wow.
I was going back and doing some research on the other webisodes, I'd realized that, and I was like, oh well. So there you go again. We got Anthony Stewart Head.
We should do a webisode cast
I think we should. I think one of
I think
these
that'd be
weeks we'll
fun.
go back and watch the rest of the
because
webisodes.
I've never seen the other one.
Now
Yeah.
they're a little harder to watch for me. They're a little harder to watch because I haven't seen Death Comes to
Not
Time.
as good as animation.
But I have seen the Sixth Doctor one, and I have seen the Shadow one, and the animation isn't as good. So you're relying more on the audio story, and the visualization doesn't serve as much as Shalka. So it's a little different, but they're still good. I mean, they're still good pieces. So yeah, we should definitely do that. We'll definitely go.
I got to throw out another prop to Cosgrove Hall for doing good stuff.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic animation. Let's wrap that one up. Let's start to wrap this show up because we're running on possibly our longest.
This has
one
been a
here
long
coming
one.
up here. We're 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Which I don't
we
think we
haven't
had
gone
that
this
much
long in a while.
content, but we had a lot of news.
We did. There was
We
a
did
lot of
have
news
a
at
lot
the
of
beginning
news.
of
A lot of
this,
news at the beginning,
and
so.
of course we spent a lot of
Decent
time
amount
on
of feedback.
it.
And we spent a decent amount of time off topic.
Yeah, we did, as we always do.
As always.
But before we leave you this week, I did promise last week that I would say my piece on what the one thing, just one thing, that bothers me about the Back to the Future trilogy. There's just one problem with the trilogy. When Marty goes back in time to the 1800s to rescue the Doc, to bring him back to the future,
In the third one.
in the third movie. He's
The
driving
third was
across
always
the
my least
desert, being
favorite.
chased by the Cowboys and Indians. The Indians. The Indians shoot the
Bow and arrow.
yes into the gas line. Gas spews out. We don't have any more gas. Okay, we've already got our time machine that we find Doc. We take it back. We don't have any gas. No gas station. The Doc just buried the time machine weeks earlier. Why couldn't they have just gone and got the gas out of that? That wasn't going to affect anything in the future. They could have got the gas out of that and went home. Why do we have to make a
Mr.
big...
Fusion
Why do we
also-
have to make a big... No, Mr. Fusion worked. Mr.
Fusion
was
runs the
fine.
time circuits. The
And
combustible engine is
he's-
always run on gasoline.
That's exactly the line.
Sorry.
And so, yes, thank you. So why don't we just go siphon the gas out of there? It wouldn't have affected Doc and Marty in the future. It's a 19...
Because they had to tow
It's
the
a
DeLorean home anyway.
1984... Yeah, exactly. It's a 1984 DeLorean. Gas from 1955 is going to work in that car.
Wouldn't it be unleaded?
It's not the new... That's the problem. Or that's the thing. Is in 1985, a lot of cars would... It was harder on the engine, but the catalytic converter would take the regular gasoline. Because back in those days, you could still get regular gasoline at the pump. Catalytic converters would have been able to take the gasoline of regular gasoline, which would have been what you would have gotten.
In 55.
You could have gotten unleaded in 55. It wasn't unheard of to have unleaded gasoline. It was a lot more expensive. It was very rare. But you could have found it. The Doc's clearly a millionaire of some sort because he's got a lot of money. He could have found it. But even if he didn't, the regular gas would have still run the time machine to get them home adequately. That's my only problem. Sean?
I'm going to dispute that problem.
Oh, good.
But not today. You'll have to wait till next time when this argument to be concluded.
Da-da-da!
What?
Yes.
No!
Yes! And on that note,
That's going to do it for us this week. Until next time, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.